All right, where we at here? Let's see. You guys should be able to. Yep, you can see that. You can see me. You can see everything. All right. So what are we doing today? We are. How's it going, Q? I am working on cleaning up some more projects. The wife is going to watch Wicked with some of her friends, and I wasn't super interested in that. Um, I think they're going to watch the play Wicked. Can't see everything. Yeah, yeah. Well, but you guys should be able to see me. And yeah, we're going to be working on some stuff for kind of the upcoming courses and stuff, and I'll show you guys some of that stuff, and we will talk through some of the stuff we're doing. But probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up these notes I was working on. So let's it'll be a little bit of labs to start, and I think that'll be probably fine for most of you guys, and then we'll kind of go from there. So what we'll start with is some Killer Coda labs. If you guys want to do them with me, you can. Just got finished back-to-back audits with DCSA. I'm not familiar with DCSA, but I imagine if you're doing audits, that's never fun. Now, were these initial audits, or were they like the check audits later? So a lot of you guys, if you've never been through an audit process, a lot of times you have to do attestations where you do your own internal audits, and then typically some third party will come in and they will verify your assessment. After the verification of the assessment, there's typically a period where you can fix things, right? And then they'll do the final assessment and verify that you've done the things, or if you're still deficient, and then how much time you have and that kind of stuff. So defense, counterintelligence, and security. Nice, nice. Yeah, Q, that sounds like a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of getting systems into our STIGed environment, like getting them accepted by the government for a couple of projects, and that's always kind of fun. So, oh, whoops, that was not the one I wanted to do. Go to this one. Last time we did a change was almost 3 weeks ago. I need to keep making some labs. I got more labs to make, guys, but we're gonna get in here and we're gonna do some lab stuff for now. If you guys want to hang out and do it with me, you can. Yeah, fun is always the word for it. And let's go mess with some STIGs. So we've done a lot of this other stuff already, and it's all captured up here in our earlier labs. I probably could put more in. In fact, I'm going to be building a lab soon for doing the TCP protected version of our syslog, because I actually have to do that for a project. So I'm going to write it up as a lab as well for you guys. But we're going to do STIGing of a server, and I will link this lab to those of you that want it. And then we'll go from there. So, the question will be, oh yeah, I gotta change this. It's annoying. Move over a little. All right, there we go. I will link this to whoever wants it. There it is on the YouTube side, and there it is over on the Twitch side. All right. So we're gonna do a lab, right? Mess with the lab. But then as we do the lab, if anybody wants to, like, what I'm adding to the lab, or what I'm thinking through as I'm doing it, is like, what does an administrator want to know, right? Like, what does an administrator need to know about this thing? Evaluate Stig is a really cool tool if you haven't used it before, but I don't think it's something you can show on Twitch. Yeah, I probably couldn't show it with live stuff, but if I could just generate fake ones too, Q. Like, I got my whole lab. I could generate fake reports, or I can just generate checklists as well. So I could show things. It just yeah. The tool itself isn't public. I see. Yeah. Then yeah, if I don't have it from like a public side of things, I wouldn't be able to show it. Yeah, that's true. All right, let's if anybody wants to do this. So I would say, one, what is a STIG? That would be a good question. And that is a secure technical implementation guide, or guideline, right? Where do you get them? And you get them off of the DISA STIG site, right? And then, you know, this is a thing that, like, I would want, and this is what we're going to be doing in the security courses. What is the cadence, or, you know, operations, or what is the, or set of tasks to secure a deployment, right? And I would posit, I think we even showed in here, it would be something like scan initial config, right? Or config. B, remediate with, you know, a tool like OpenSCAP, right? Because OpenSCAP will generate a remediation. I actually have to show you guys how to do that in a future lab as well. This lab was just the first part of it. Remediate with a tool. Verify functionality of system is still there. Generate new report and final Stig score. This is kind of my high-level way of doing it, right? And you might say, well, why don't you generate the report before you verify? Somebody's got to stop me here. Why wouldn't you generate the report first and then verify the functionality after? And I would say, well, here's the thing. If your functionality isn't there, the report's irrelevant. And you say, well, why do you mean that? Well, because now I'm probably going to have to rebuild the system. This is why I like rapid tools like Werewolf or XCat, where I can just deploy an image node again. And then now my remediation here has to be tuned down less for whatever was breaking. So let's say there was a breaking functionality around an extra SSHD configuration to like PAM, and you know, we want to use keys everywhere in the environment, and we locked it all down. We gave it all the values, and it took away keys that didn't have a passphrase in them. Couldn't use them anymore. So now all those keys that you had everywhere in your cluster from Werewolf, they don't work anymore. Well, that would be a pretty breaking thing. And what we would probably have to do, and this is where kind of the dance of this is where the practice of it, and where I would also say where it becomes an art and not an engineering. Engineering is when I can give you a discrete set of tasks. Art is where I say, well, it kind of looks a little like this and it's kind of a little of that. Well, what will happen here is you're going to have to say, we can't do that. And then you're going to have to write that up probably in the Stig checklist that you have and put it out as part of the report. And then you're going to have to convince or work with the ISSO, who is the Information System Security Officer. They're the person who approves. There's typically an ISSM somewhere as well. And they're the one who, well, there's two things about them. One, they're always going to have CISSP in their frickin' email. I put CISSP when I respond to them just to be funny. I mean, I have one, but I don't normally have it in my email unless I'm responding to one of them. And then that's one thing that'll always be there, always. It'll always be CISSP. And the other one is you've got, they are always going to like want you to kind of give a defense for why something should or shouldn't be. Oh, man. All right, sorry. Just got a text from a buddy. That's kind of funny. If your functionality isn't there, your system is probably... Yeah, actually, technically, it is the most secure because now it doesn't do anything. Yeah. I tell you guys all the time, like, why, if we can look at these Stig checklists and see the 401 things that you should do in Rel 8 still, why don't we just turn them all on? And, well, the answer is because it would be impossible to connect anymore. It would be impossible to do anything, but the system would be 100% secure. In fact, it would be exactly that Mr. Meeseeks quote where we'll get 2 strokes off of Jerry's golf game when we take all the strokes off Jerry's golf game when he's dead, right? All right, if you don't know what that reference is, I'm sorry. You're probably not older than me. You just haven't watched a funny show. All right, anyways, your team has to integrate with the U.S. government system. This happens. There's a security requirement that you need to Stig your servers to a certain score. There we go. Yeah, actually, Q, I saw the ones from January are the ones I've been working off of, and they've reduced. I think there used to be 460 something, and now there's only like 401. So I feel like they've taken a lot of back. Yeah, and we did Kubernetes in a deployment. They were like, hey, can you just show us Kubernetes? And we're like, and because we did a lighter version of like K3s with Rancher, it kind of like we had to, it got messy in the Stigs, but they're like, we're going to turn it off anyways. And we're like, government, right? Government jobs. I mean, you just make sure things are checked and then they can't say anything to you, I guess. But all right, so you've decided to Stig. You're going to use the SCC tool to scan your servers. This tool bugs me to no end, but we're going to use it for the lab because it's fine. There are better tools out there. But the reason we'll use this tool is, one, it's free. And two, it actually works pretty well. But The SCC tool, the problem I have with it is the report that you're going to get initially, when you pull it out and go drop it in a checklist, it's always going to drop. I had one the other day. It was 92 on the server. And I was like, man, that server's pretty good. Got it out of there, dropped to 67. And I was like... And then it was all these manual checks that I had to go do to bring it back up. Every auditor you had wanted to see SCC. Yeah, SCC. There's also one called Radix or Radix. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to say it, but that's the right spelling, RADIX. I think you have to get that internally, though. I don't think that's out there because I can't find that on the web. But that one's one that some government projects use. That's pretty good, and then it can scan and report and all that stuff. But all right, let's go look at this. So we're going to download and install an SCC tool from the government. We're going to run it for our OS. We're going to configure it and run it. And then we're going to verify our output and see where our results are stored on the system. So again, if you're doing the lab with me, let's go make a directory for it. And then we'll CD over into that directory. And then we're going to download the 5.10.1 version of this, right? So we've downloaded it. ls in our directory, there's our file, right? We've downloaded that off of the interwebs. ls-lh maybe to see that it is about 87 megs. Not super big. Maybe it has pretty good tooling in general. Interesting. Nice. How's it going, Campy? We are just working through Lab 207. I'm adding some stuff over here as we kind of go. All right, so we're going to unzip the tool, right? We'll unzip that version of the tool. That'll leave us with a directory, right? And then in here we've got a bunch of stuff. We've got some release notes and a user manual if you've got a PDF viewer. We've got the installer right here, or this is actually going to be able to be installed by dpackage. And then there's some signature probably so that we can see the... probably so that we can just see that it was signed with like a GPG key, right? And then here is, more stuff tarred up. I think that's the original. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. This is just another set of packages for SCC, right? Probably different versions and stuff. All right, so anyways, let's go. Let's make sure we're in our directory. And we're going to then go ahead and install that package. We're going to manually install it. And it's going to go drop everything that we need down in opt SCC. Now, there's some things, as you install anything, I always tell you, watch the installer. What does it say? So where does the SCC tool get installed by default? And that was opt SCC, right? So cd to opt SCC. Look around in here. And then I give you a command to configure it. So we're going to run the configure on it. And then what's going to happen is it's going to start the configuration. It's going to give us a change log. It always gives us something up front. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. We don't really care about the changes. You can read. It's great to read change logs. If you're using a tool a lot, you probably should read the change logs. But for the purposes of this, it's not as important. Now, there's a whole list of things on the left that I'm about to do. It's going to walk you through each one of them. See, it does a really cool thing where it copies over the OpenSSL library to remote systems when they're scanned. So if it doesn't clean up properly, it will generate more findings for you. Oh, that's nice. That is nice. We're just going to run it local. We're not going to go anything too crazy, but watch this. We're going to do a scap. We're going to hit 1 to do the scap content. And since we're on a box that we don't want to run 1 or 3, you'll see that it deselected each of those for me. So the only thing we're going to run right here is canonical Ubuntu 2004. All right. I'm going to hit 0 to return, and I'm going to go back to the original page. Then I'm going to hit 6 to configure my scan options. And this is probably one of the most important things I do. I hit 1 right here, and up at the top of this is my favorite one to set. Run all SCAP content regardless of applicability. Just run it all. Check it all, right? So I'm going to hit 1, enter, and now 1 is going to be selected up here. Boom. And I do that because sometimes I run different versions, like I'm running a Rocky box, and it'll be like, oh, there's nothing here to scan because I'm a RHEL 9 box, or I'm a RHEL 9 scanner, and I'm like, fucking scan it. Like, scan it, buddy. I don't care about, I don't got time for you, right? Nobody got time for that, right? All right, so anyways, we're going to back out of all this, and we're going to hit 9 to exit and actually start a scan of the system, right? So that's all over here. It says it may take up to 5 minutes, and watch the sand to see what it's doing. You can see that it's writing and reading things, and you'll see that it goes and it scans a bunch of files, make sure that nothing is set to certain values in world writable, and all these kind of things, right? And then when the scan's complete, it's going to tell us a score. Then we're going to go look in an output directory and see what that score is, and we're going to put it to a web page with the basic HTML. We're not going to look at the checklist viewer, because the Stig viewer is an awesome tool, but these labs, you know, I'd have to have people downloading stuff to their local machine, so I don't do that in the lab, but I pull that up on stream sometimes. That's a pretty good tool to use or whatever. So yeah, it can be. Change logs are important for, security purposes. They let you know where to go look for things that are different than what you expect too. So that's kind of a good thing, depending on your functionality. All right, so we got a score, and the score was not good. It was 13.76 red. So what do the scores mean in Stig? What are the colors, right? And the answer to that, we could probably find out here. So Stig score colors. Probably just get a list right here. I'd be willing to bet there's some image here of like what your Stig score could be, right? This is viewer and all this kind of stuff. Let's see if somebody has what the actual colors are. Maybe somebody will have it up here. Yeah, here. Yeah, that's not really correct. Let's see about this. Let's see if they give me the color tiers. Okay. I have to go look them up. Yeah, I don't see them right here. All right. I think it's above, I think it's 100%. Let me think. Is it above 90 for green and above 80 for blue? I think that's right. Actually, I think I know where I can find that. I think it's in my, I have that somewhere. But anyways, that's not that big of a deal, right? Like the colors don't matter. The number is always what's mattered for me. What are the colors? I know, I know green. Well, we know we know where red is. We'll have to look those up. I don't know those right off. And I didn't see where they were right off, but that would be a thing to go look up. If anybody has that, let me know. I know it's out there somewhere, but it's not that big of a deal. We want to know what the output directory is, so we know where to go read our reports from. It's root SCC sessions, and then the time that it ran, right? And then here's a SCC summary viewer. But what we want to do is we're going to go look at the results here, and we're going to put a web server on here, and then we're going to go pop in and take a look at the results. So it says set up the system so that you can use a web browser to view the Stig report at a high level, right? High level Stig. We're going to install Apache 2, copy the appropriate results file to the web root, and then verify that we can see it. Let's just do that real quick. So we'll install Apache. If you've only run it once, this will work. If you run it multiple times, you got to go find the most recent one. So there we go. Let's go find, hold on, we're going to change our stations a little bit here. Our music's okay, but I kind of want to change, stations. See if this one's better for us today than it's been in the past. Hold on a second. This music's happy. It's a little too happy. Let's see if I can do this again. Hold on. See how this one goes. That's pretty good. All right, that's kind of even scary sounding. Hold on. I won't make that too loud though. Yeah, it gives like a sense of urgency. All right, so we've installed the Apache. We're gonna jump over, and if I pwd over here, I should see that that is session right for right now, basically. Yeah, that's exactly this time. Well, 5 minutes ago when we kicked off the scan, so that's cool. And we're gonna copy. In here, we've got the word all right here. It's only one word all. Over here, there's no word all, and then there's XML. So we're going to copy this one right here over to var www html index.html, and it's going to become the web page of this server, right? That's the default web page, index.html. And then if you do that and you click right here, it should drop you into that Stig score, that 13.76 that you saw, and you can see that you passed 15 and failed 94. And there were 57 that were not checked. Right. Oh, here's the score right here. So if we needed to know the scores, I knew it was somewhere. I knew we'd get there eventually. There we go. Blue is 100, yellow is 80 or above. Yeah, there we go. It's a good thing I didn't try to guess that because I would have been way off. There you go. Okay. Come down here and you can start looking at them and knocking them out for compliance, right? And what'll happen here is there's all these automated checks and then there's the manual checks for the cat ones. So there's things that may or may not be accurate, but we haven't checked them yet. So I can actually go to this one for sudos here. And this one has not been checked. This is not checked, and we need to go look at it. And it just says right here, configure the sudo group for with only members requiring access to security functions. To remove a user from the group, so from the sudo group, run this. So we come over here and we say maybe there's a few ways that I would do this. So I would grep-i for they wanted the group sudo, so sudo from etc sudors, right? And I see, okay, there's the sudo group added as a member. Now, if I wanted to bypass this, right, because they're talking about the sudo group, I could just take that out. I said, fuck, we don't use sudo group around here. We use wheel. That's a very common one on the Red Hat side of things. I could do that, and I could turn that off, and then this becomes... I don't think this becomes NA, because you can't do NA. But I could say that it's not a finding, because we're not using it. It's not a thing anymore. But let's assume that there is a sudo group, as there is. So maybe I grep sudo from etc group. Group, yeah. And then there it is. And there's an Ubuntu user in there. So what they say right here is configure sudo group with only members requiring access to security functions. So if in my documentation and if in my configuration of the system, and by the way, part of my documentation is my report out of this, I can say the Ubuntu user is a privileged user in our environment. They're used to configure the system as it first comes up. It's a, maybe it's a cube. This is a KubeVirt tooling, and the Ubuntu user is used for initial build of the image, and it needs to be there in the sudo group. Fine. Write that up. This would then be a pass, right? Right now it's not checked, so it's not counting for us or against us. But it says the Ubuntu operating system must ensure only users who need access to security functions are part of the sudo group. Okay. Now, we got to look at that in the context of this. We were talking about this the other day. I want to move this down a little bit. Actually, I'm going to move it up so my voice is still there. There are different types of security controls that we run into, and this is going to be a big part of the security engineering group when we start meeting that on this this weekend. There's categories and types of controls. And the reason you need to know these is because if somebody were to, if you were to say, well, we're just not going to adhere to this, we're just not going to go look that up. Well, you need to understand what that risk profile looks like compared to the type of control that you're doing. And I would tell you, this is one of the ones that you're typically not going to want to leave out. But this is the type of thing that information system security officers look at. All right, so look over here in the categories. If this is not a physical control. This does not physically stop your hands from getting to the keyboard. It doesn't physically stop you like a wall from getting into the building. It's not like a man trap or an ID card. It's not something physically that you have to go past to get to the servers. So this is not a physical control. It is not an operational control because it's not something that just falls into the category of like following a procedure or practice. So it's not that. It's not a managerial control because you haven't like signed some acceptable use policy or you're going against somebody telling you, no, you can't do that. It is a technical control. This is a technical control. This is the system technically stopping something from happening if you remove all the users from that group. This is a technical control right here, right? Because it actually technically, and then over here, it's a preventative type control because it will prevent things from happening. It prevents users that are not in this sudo group, right? Or it takes users out of that sudo group so they don't have that sudo privilege. It is not a deterrent because it doesn't kind of make you think about turning back along the way. It is not detective because it won't help you find anything, although there are detective controls related to this around the use of sudo, right? It's not corrective because it's not trying to fix something that's busted. It's not compensating for some other vulnerability in the system, although technically this one kind of could, but it's not directly compensating, so I wouldn't call this compensating. And it's not a directive control because it's not... actually, I don't even know when directive got added there. I don't even know what that is. I'd have to look that up. But it's a technical preventative control. That's the type of control we're looking at here, right? And you might say, Scott, why are you hammering that? Well, I'm hammering it because that's going to be a big part of kind of what we're doing in the group this next week. Is we're going to be... People are going to get so tired of securing stuff because they're going to be like, this isn't fun. And I'm like, and I've been trying to tell you guys, like 99.5% of security is not, you know, I got my little hoodie on and I'm going, I'm in, hacker man, I'm in. That's not what it is. That's not what almost any security is, right? All right. Anyways, so there's that. So we did all that, and then we can view our STIGs and look at our different categories. One of the cool things about this thing is you can collapse these as you want to go find them. So I went down to that one, but I could go to any one of these. Actually, this one doesn't collapse. Some of the other ones, like they're like Web 2.0. You can hit a button and it'll like collapse all of them underneath. But just suffice it to say, you've got your Cat 1s. They're going to weigh the heaviest. You have to give an answer up here. You actually really want to give an answer for any one thing. Here's all these automated checks that we failed. That's a lot. Here's the automated checks that we passed. And then here's our manual checks that we have to go and manually touch on the system. This right here, if I had to just kind of give us... Actually, I could give you a spitball right here like this. How long this would take me. If you say, like, well, how long would it take you to do all the manual checks on the Cat 2s? I'll give you an estimate here. That is 43. I would say when I'm knocking them out manually, I'm probably doing about 10 an hour, so about one every 6 minutes. So I'd say that's probably a little over 4 hours worth of work. But I'm documenting it. I'm putting together my build process. I can, the preparing of the reports after is probably the longest time because I can fix a lot of these automated with my tool, right? So that's something to think about. All right, so we're back over here still, and what are the categories? And those are Cat 1, 2, 3, right? Like that. Okay. And you may, if you were actually trying to secure this system... Hey, Rossberger, how's it going? I didn't see you on today. So I went and I wrestled this morning, and it was an open mat because the coach wasn't there. So there was like just probably like 12 of us in there just beating up white belts. And they're not people. No, I'm just kidding. But ink therapy. Yeah, I remember you were saying you were getting I think part of your leg finished or something. But yeah, I didn't see you on, Ross, because with the time shift, Phoenix doesn't shift with all the rest of you. So you went from being 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I do 5 to 6 a.m. at the gym. I come home and you're already started. Whereas like when it was 7, I'd be kind of like getting in here and hanging out for a little bit. But Phoenix doesn't move. So like everybody complains about losing that 1 hour of sleep, you know, during daylight savings. But places like here, because I work with NOAA Weather, right, the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency. Well, a lot of those guys are on the East Coast in the D.C. area. So all of my time, I lose an hour every day for 6 months. Yeah, so it's brutal. But what you've walked in on, Rossberger, is I'm putting together. So let me show you guys real quick for people that haven't been here or are kind of not necessarily newer. What I'm working on right now, and I didn't stream the last 2 days. Let me go to my, where the hell do I have it? Here's our website. One of our guys put together a nice little website, and it's our professional Linux users group, right? And what he did was he put in the courses that we've run, and we ran this course, the Linux administration course. We ran it last year, I think like September through January. It's free. We had 208 people say they were coming to it. We ended up only with about 8 or 9 people passing it, but we gave out really cool little certs, right? And the people that did it, they learned a lot, I think. We also turned it into a book, so it's this free book that like people can go and they can start to learn how to use Linux or whatever, right? Q, you said to walk past the No headquarters the other day, and I thought about knocking and ask if they know. They probably would know me, and they'd probably shake their fists like this. So I work specifically over on the NCEP side of things, which is the environmental prediction, national something of NCEP. National something of environmental prediction, and we do all the weather reports going forward for like the next 10 days. I don't do any of that stuff. I just keep all the Linux stuff working, right? I'm kind of the guy down in the bilge of the ship, keeping the pumps working and stuff like that. I run all the Linux, right? I keep everything level so that all the smart guys can do all their coding on top of it, right? I also work in National Centers for Environmental. That's what it is, yeah. I also do. I do all of that, and then I also do a lot of the security stuff for them. So a lot of the security stuff right here that I'm showing you guys, I will be implementing against, and I can't tell you the exact operating systems. They're different than the ones here, though, that they use over at NOAA, but you could probably guess it's one of the major ones because that's the only ones you can use in the government systems, right? But I will be applying some of these, and then in future versions of the images, I'll be securing them and making sure that we have all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, Q, I don't know everybody, like the people I work for, the company Redline, they've been involved with NOAA for like 30-something years between the two people that own the company. And there's been a whole bunch of us. There's about 40 Redliners around the world. And we've all worked with NOAA in some kind of way over time. But I'm also the guy, I think I've told you guys, like, they've got me on all these other projects. I do all these other government things. So I work with, I don't know, I work with military right now. I work with some contractors that build stuff to go into the government. I'm working with some neurological stuff, like some of that stuff, but that's like hospital stuff. So I'm like kind of on all these other systems, but mainly because of this. These are I'm showing you guys the same base things that I do for those systems, right? Well, anyways, so back to what I was kind of showing Rossberger, if he's still around, is we have over here in our Discord the people that are coming to this next set of these events. So we've got like the Linux Systems Admin course starting up this Saturday for people that aren't around. And then Linux Security Engineering course is also starting up. I don't know what I just said about people not being around. I think it's too late in the day and my brain is fried or something. But these are the courses. They're both distinct. They're both free. Like I tell you guys, like the stuff we do around here is always going to be free, especially stuff down in Discord. You guys are welcome to hang out down there and do whatever. All right, let's go back to the lab, though, right? Because the lab is the important thing, getting the hands on this stuff. So you did all this stuff over here. You walked through the lab. I'll link it to people that need it again. Boom. Yeah, free 99 is the best. And then I tell people, after I said free 99, free. I tell you guys, after you get a job, if you want to like flip the group a nickel or something, you can. But like I don't expect anybody to do anything like that. Like I'm a pretty well-paid engineer and college professor. The group keeps me sharp, so I get a lot out of it as well. Makes me write things down and codify things. And I've told some of you guys, or some of you guys that have been around know, I'm working on my PhD, but I took a little bit of a break. So I have another 2 months. I'm going to be starting back up in May again. So I took a little bit of a break. I'm switching schools to focus more on systems engineering, which is, interestingly enough, what I do all day. And then I'll be finishing probably like late 2026 or so for that. So, yeah. And then the wife's like, we got to go walk. You got to go walk. And I'm like, I don't really have to walk, but she wants me to. So we'll take pictures and that kind of stuff. It'll be fun. All right. So anyways, guys, this is a very simple, very much just the initial scan config, but we're not doing these other two parts yet, right? So this is, end of this lab. The end of this lab was scan the initial config. These other things need to be in like a future lab, right? Or go work on them and look at them and that kind of stuff to get better. But that's kind of that part of the lab. All right, so then let's go. What I've been doing here in my notepad is as we've been going through these labs, I've been just writing out, like, this is what an admin needs to know about a service, right? NFS, is it installed? Is it running? Is it configured? Where are the logs? Apache, is it installed? Is it running? How do we verify? Where is it configured? Where are the logs? These are the things that I would want to know if I were adminning the system. If my job was to keep the system running, these are the things I would at a minimum need to know. For monitoring, we did monitoring lab. Is the monitoring installed? Is it running? Where's it configured? Where are the logs? Where's the monitoring solution? You know, how do we monitor the monitoring, right? That kind of stuff. Where do we alert things, right? That's stuff that I need to build new labs around that. We did antivirus, and we looked at how antivirus is going. So these are all different labs. If you guys are wondering, these are all different labs right here that are free on Killer Coda. I think Killer Coda is one of the best sites on the web because it's Kim Woosterkamp that runs it. And I mean, I've literally started over 10,000 labs there. He's never charged me anything. I do my own labs. I run other people's labs. We do stuff here on stream. Never charged me anything. Never charged anybody anything. So I think that's really awesome. There is an option to pay them like $10 a month if you want to do that, but there is no requirement for that to do any of the labs here, any of the labs from anybody else. All right, so we're going to another lab here, which is going to use the tool lsof. So if you guys haven't used lsof, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how that tool works. This is the very bottom here. Open files in a file system. I'll link this to you guys that want to do it with me. Again, you can just work through the labs with me if you wanted. It's free. Doesn't cost you nothing. But this is Prolog Linux, Professional Linux Users Group. This is our troubleshooting. So we're going to hit start. And it says set up an NFS share for your lsof testing. So we're going to use NFS, which is a network file system tool, right? We can share a server on one side, and then we can connect to it from another and look at the open files between them. So we're going to deploy an NFS server on node 01. We're going to share out the file system /share, and then we're going to verify that the system is being shared out. All of these tasks look just like the other lab that I took this from, which is to connect over to node 01. Make sure that the service is not running. I jumped over one. We're going to install the server, the NFS kernel server, and then we're going to make sure that it's running, and then we're going to configure it. So we'll get into this here in a second, but this lab looks a lot like that NFS one from earlier that we did earlier. All right, so we'll hit this, and we'll say, okay, NFS server is running, so our system is running NFSD. It is listening on port 2049 for connections to come in on both TCP and TCP on IPv4 and TCP on IPv6. That's what they are. So there's no UDP connections here. It's all TCP. Good. And then we did a show mount -E, and we don't see anything configured, which kind of makes sense, right? Turning on the server, turning on a service does not configure it for us. It would be like if I built a room onto the side of your house and you go, okay, cool, the room's over there. Well, Scott, why isn't it my man cave yet? And I'm like, because we didn't do any of that. We didn't set up what the room's for yet. We've built the room. Like, the service is there, but we haven't configured the stuff inside it yet. Does that kind of make sense? Now we're going to go configure the stuff inside of it real quick. So we come down here. We're going to make a directory for share, and we're just going to change it to nobody and no group, which will... What it basically does is when things write in there, they get stripped of all their permissions. We could add permissions and users and stuff. Well, the permissions are still there, rather, but the users and groups are stripped off. We could change that behavior, but for this lab, we don't really need to. We're going to go look in Etsy exports. We see nothing configured, so we hit Shift-G-O to make a new line, and we're going to add this line right here. This line is just going to say, allow /share to be connected to by anybody. That's what this asterisk is. And we're going to let them be read-write, and then they can sync. They can sync or not sync. It doesn't matter. We'll let the client decide. And then no subtree check, so that's not required, right? By the way, you can go look at all those values. There's a whole bunch of places to go look for those. And then what we're going to do is, if we checked again real quick, we'd note that there's nothing being shared out yet. Well, just because I wrote the plans up to configure it does not mean that it's actually configured yet. When we restart the service, Now it goes and rereads that initial config, that etc exports config, and it'll start. Does Samba come in a basic configuration on RHEL or Ubuntu? I think it does. So Samba is slightly different, but yeah, you can set up Samba. SMB, in general, let me show you guys how Samba is set up in my home lab. So in my home lab, off of my main jump box, if I do test parm, which I think that's one of my favorite commands in all the world, is test parm, because it looks like test parmesan, but it tests your Samba configuration, right? And it says that I'm loading. So what it does is it basically goes and it runs and it looks at everything that's configured in Samba. So test parm is etc samba samba.conf. That's where I'm configuring out of. And then it says that it's loaded service files. Server role is standalone. It's not configured with anything else. And then I'm going to hit enter here. And in my home lab doesn't have anything. Sorry, hostbox. Hostbox is the box that does all my Samba in the environment. Test parm over here will show you guys that I have data, and its valid users are Samba group, ROMs Samba group, ISOs Samba group, and then camera Samba group, right? Now in a Windows environment, so I just go to a Windows environment like this, I have ISOs, data, and camera right here. So I can go look at camera data from my dog Ranger, right? We go look at Ranger every now and then over here. Where's Ranger? Where's Ranger at? Oh, not connected. There we go. Where's Ranger? Where's that dog at? Oh, look at him. He is conked out. Anyway, so we can go look at Ranger, and we can creep on Ranger from... Oh, what's going on here? 216? Did we, Alright, so now we gotta figure out why we stopped on 216. Well, why did we... hold on. I think it's called front camera FTP. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. I'm dumb. All right, upload. Do we not have the most recent? No, it stopped. Okay, well, that's weird. Something has stopped this on the 16th of this. That's February 16th. Something has stopped this from uploading. It's still working, right? The camera's still sitting here working, guys. But it's no longer... 57 days. Doesn't quite fit. Yeah, it doesn't fit. Firewall D is off, so that's not stopping anything. Oh, but all that to say, right? You guys are going to get me off on a tangent if I do that. But you guys can see here that on my machine I have the Samba shares connected. Here's all my data, mostly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu videos, right? But I also have data that's pushed up there, and then all of these things are linked off of here. This is all my data stuff. Some of you guys have seen the ISOs folder. Oops. And then on the ISOs folder, this is shared through to my... Right, this is shared out actually as NFS. Show mount -E, right? And we share out ISOs. And then ISOs via FTP can be picked up by this tool. Oh, all right, don't worry about all that. Like, let's say I wanted to turn on this Kafka box and I wanted to mount something from my ISO library. I have it all right here, right? So in the home lab, we can do all of these different things, right? This is all stuff that's easy set up. Look at Ranger down there. That dog is so tired. All right. I don't know what else I was showing you guys there, but all right. Let's go back to this, and let's finish this lab up because we want to get this notepad done. So we start all that up. We showed it. It's running. All right. We exit back to control plane. All right. Now we're going to set this node up as a client. So we're going to install the NFS common over here. And we're going to connect over there just this one time. We're not going to make it persistent. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to make sure that we can connect to it one time. Again, if a lot of stuff's happening here and you're like, I don't know where to go with that. The original lab is up here in the notes earlier, and I'm going to go drop this in the Discord. Actually, I'll pop in all of the different labs so you guys have them, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, so let's look at this one real quick. Let's mount that. So now we've got it. If we look at mount, we see that it's mounted off of that other node, right? Because we're on control plane, and we are mounting node 01 from their /share in our /mount directory. We could put it wherever we want on this server, right? It just happens to be that /mount is where I said to put it on this one. You normally wouldn't leave things permanently there, but for testing, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And then we just touch a file real quick, and then we see that the file's there. Good. If we wanted to, we can SSH to node 01, CD to share, and we should see that same file sitting right there, which we do. Killa, you said you wish you had half storage space. I do. What server am I running? I run I have 4 Dell, like they're between I think 630 and 710 servers sitting behind me. I think 2 of them are 710s. I think 2 of them are 630s or something. And I mapped this out the other day. We actually have a capacity meeting that we now do for fun around here. And let me see if I have Prolog. I've got this operational meeting that we were kind of doing, and we'll probably do these on Saturdays sometimes. But my operational meeting, this is my server kind of specs between the different boxes, and then I could have represented these in terabytes, but I did them in gigs so that we can see them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how much of each they're used. But yeah, this is what the home lab looks like right now. This is basically if I were doing an operational meeting and showing what's going on for the last 24 hours or last week in an organization, one of the things I would do is show capacity, and I would show usage. So I would probably have a slash next to this and then how much used it is. And I might even do that as a percentage of usage too. But this was just me putting one together for you guys. Killa, they are not loud unless they're starting up. If they're starting up, they sound like a jet engine. But no, just sitting behind me. No, I mean, you guys can't hear them right now. They're, 4 feet behind me. If you guys do hear anything through this mic, it's the fans that I have in this room. I have a little desk fan sitting next to me, and then I have a fan just outside in my hallway that blows cold air into this room, because this room does stay a little warmer than the rest of the house. Bogan Bits, I'm not doing much with all the memory. I just have a whole bunch of it. Some of you guys, if you've been around, I have lab drawings of what's going on in the home lab environment. Hold on, this stuff out of the way. Yeah, so you can see if we go to any one node, you can see how the memory is being used, right, for the boxes. This one's just basically my Rocky cluster, and then this one is just a bunch of other servers, and then this one is the Hammer nodes. Q, you might think some of this is bad. I have 0 month. I have 0 electricity bill months sometimes. But I also have solar on the roof, so this surprisingly doesn't draw. I mean, if I had to guess, and they're not really doing too much most days, but I wouldn't say that my systems are using more than, I don't know, probably 20. I don't have a thing on there with the draw, but I don't think they're using probably more than $20-30 a month in electricity. And I easily pull that down with my solar. I have a 15 kilowatt. Yeah, I have a 15 kilowatt system on my roof, so that's AC. My DC is about I think my DC is right at 11. It's yeah, so it's pretty good. I tell you guys all the time, you don't need that much power. This is basically because I'm running the labs for everybody that wants to hop on and connect to our labs or whatever. But this is what I was starting to mention right here. Hold on. Some of you guys have seen I have this. Where's that at? Down in Ranger Check, Scala Draw. This is the one that I've been doing for this. Hold on, let me make sure I save this file. This song is doing something that I really hate. Hold on. Dislike. Give me a new song. I don't know if you guys heard that. Did anybody hear that? I hate when fucking songs do that. All right, hold on. Especially when you're driving. All right, hold on. We got to save this to a current file. Yep, save. All right. We're going to wipe this and confirm. And we're going to open the file. Hold on. Where the heck is that? Oh, shoot. If you guys didn't hear it, no, I don't have a UPS for it because my thoughts on it are, I'm probably if power went down, most UPS systems are really only designed to give you time to power things off unless you go to a generator, and I'm not that worried about my lab is almost 100% like ephemeral, except for my data. My data stuff, like that stuff in my host box, like my jiu-jitsu videos, I don't want to have to go download all of those again. I mean, I have like almost a terabyte of videos that I've bought over the years and collected from friends and stuff. Like I've juiced down collections of people's DVDs and stuff from like the 90s, back even VHSs I've put on there. So I have a pretty good sized collection of jiu-jitsu stuff. Hold on, let's go here and open file location. That's not where I wanted to be. All right, let's just go to here and Excalibur. EXCALIDRAW. Dot. Cancel. All right, that's definitely not going to find it. All right, you know what? Okay, I have it over here. What? Fuck it. Doing it live. I was going to let you guys play in there. Yeah, sure, save it. This is our lab. That's a different lab. Yeah, it's a different lab. Oh, this is a lab that kind of showed some of the stuff I had done before when I was setting up like the HPC lab for you guys. Nobody really used the HPC lab, so I kind of closed it down. Damn it. Hold on. Let's go File. Open Recent. So it's under Linux Group, Prolog, Drawings, Excalibur. Okay. All right, we can find it here. All right, so open. Go to our documents. Go to our Linux group. Right, it should be right about here. And it should be Drawings, Excalibur. Oh, streaming, and then Drawings. I do not see it, so maybe I'm dumb. You guys gotta remember, I don't always remember where I put hardly anything. Hold on. Can I? Oh, well, anyways, here's the drawing. And what we can do, if you guys haven't messed with this before with me, is I can actually share this with all of you. So I can start the session, copy this link, and I can send it to you guys over on the YouTube side and then on the Twitch side. On the Twitch side, you have to pull it out and you have to link it and back in there, but you guys could actually then hop in here and have the exact same drawing as me. You can change it right now live. You could drop stuff on there. People are always drawing stuff on here. But this is kind of the cluster home lab. Also, it's interesting. This does not have. I thought I saved this. This does not have all the recent stuff that I've done in the lab. Like I have. This is MC. MC Hammer is the user. Oh, yep. And then I see people flying around on there. But you can grab that and then you can copy and save it to yourself. You can't affect my copy unless I take this and save it later, right? So Excalibur is an awesome tool, by the way, for you to just mock stuff up with your you know, people on your team or whatever, right? And then I think people had drawn stuff over here, and then we would say, well, okay, this isn't this isn't necessary anymore, so we could just take that out. That was a drawing for something else. And then we have different stuff that was planned by different people in the environment. But this is kind of what I do with the lab. Here's the physical host down here at the bottom. And then that's kind of what they're doing, right? The networks and the VLANs for the networks and how they're configured over here with the different nodes doing whatever they're doing. So, again, that's one of these things where, you know, how do you want to look at things? And yeah. All right, so let's go finish this lab up real quick. You guys can draw on that if you want. Here was our manual checks for the other lab. We'll get rid of that. Let's go pull up this lab that we're doing. And we've done everything that we need to. So now we're going to use lsof, which is a tool, and we're going to examine file systems. We're going to see what's going on. If something doesn't work, troubleshoot the situation to see if you can resolve it. So we're going to use lsof to check the processes that are using a directory. Hey, Fisherman's here. Fisherman, I thought you had dropped off, man. I thought you were like, anytime I don't hear from you for a while, I think you're maybe like out sick or something again. Because I know having young kids that can get you for sure. Fisherman, I'm working on a project where they're using Open On Demand, or they want to use Open On Demand because they saw how powerful it was, and I was thinking about you and how you had the thing. Yeah, Paul, I don't normally stream on a Thursday night, but I haven't streamed for the last 2 nights, so I figured I'd hop on here and kind of hang out or whatever. So, but okay, so let's go look at this real quick. We're going through the lab, and it says use lsof to look at the mount directory. So we're back on, so we can clear this off. I think that we were supposed to be on the. Yeah. Actually, let's go back one. Does it tell us for the last thing to? No, it doesn't tell us to move back off. Okay. We really should have moved back to our main node back over here, which I think, actually, let's go look at that last. I just want to make sure that on the lab I'm not confusing anybody. Yeah. So you built this, you mount that. So you were on your primary, okay, you were on control plane as you got to here. Good. Okay. So we're going to use lsof, and we're going to look at the /mount directory. Yeah, Paul, yeah, I'm definitely slacking. I actually, I'm in week 3. I don't know what word I just said. Week 3 of teaching college class. It's almost near the end of it. I have this week I started back full time with Noah, so I've been working on a lot of that stuff. And NOAA, not Noah. Like, yeah, I gotta like convince this thing like weather, not the arc. Like weather, like outside weather. Yeah, not the arc, because it always thinks I'm saying Noah. Anyways. Let's go look at lsof for mount, and there's nothing in there. You see no processes using the mount directory. There's no output. Yeah, that's fine. So what I might say over here is, what does lsof do? And as we get through and do more of this, we're going to move in there, and then we're going to run it. And now we're going to see something happening in there. So what does lsof do? Shows what processes are holding or are touching, are using a file or mount point. Right? We could say that is a pretty accurate way of looking at it, right? And if I look here real quick and do an echo $$, I'll see that my process, this is a way of checking the process that I'm in. This is the bash shell that I'm in right here, is 27626. So then we go up here and we look and we say, okay, this bash 27626 is actually in the /mount directory. So it's in that mount location right there, right? So I say, okay, well, okay, that's good. What can I unmount? So if I've moved my user, right? Like I've moved the process of bash that I'm using right now into /mount. Can I unmount that directory while I'm in it? Can you make a bed while you're in it? It's not easy, right? You're trying to get a fitted sheet on while you're on the bed. It's not easy, right? Let's see, can we unmount that system? No. And why does it say it? It's because the device is busy. The device is being used by processes on the system. Now, What I'm going to show you, and I think I say it right here, there's two ways to unmount this directory now. We can force it with a U-mount, or the other way that I don't actually mention here is you just move out of the directory and then you have a clean unmount. Here's the thing to note. If you ever do this command as an administrator, right? How do you force a U-mount of the... And it's unmount, but it's U-mount is the command. How do you force an unmount of /mnt? And it's U-mount -L mnt, right? But I'm going to put like a warning here. In operations, in operational systems, if you do this, you will likely disrupt user or application rights to this directory. So what I'm going to tell you is very sparingly. Only if you know what you're doing and why you're doing it and what the implications are would you ever do a umount-L on a running like production system. Because what will happen is this. Let's say there's users writing in there and they're waiting because something's not working right, and you've got maybe some problem, but then you kill all the users that were using that directory. And this, as you grow larger as a company, as you work in bigger companies, you are going to find that some of these things, it's just not possible or feasible to do without alerting so many other teams. But let's say it's your own application team and their application's writing out and they're just telling you, hey, we need to restart this, we need to restart this, we need to try to recover this box while it's live or whatever. And they may tell you, we don't care about the data. The data that's being written there is this, we don't need it. And you say, all right, it's nuclear, kill it, right? Cut that, cut that. At that point, you're almost always having to reboot the box anyways. But there's philosophical questions here about how we troubleshoot, right? Like, obviously, we don't just kill a box up front, but there's going to come a point where you're going to do so many things and have so many problems that it may just be cleaner in some systems to boot up. This is why we build a lot of redundancy into like load balancers and stuff, so that any one node should be non-single point of failure to the system, right? Make sure you clear them buffers and clear them and write them to disk. Yeah, but if the disk is bad, right? If the disk is hanging, if you go in there and even do like a df-h on some Linux systems, you'll find this. You'll go in and you'll do a df-h and it'll just hang. You won't even get an output back, and you'll just be like, oh. Now you got to go reopen a shell or make a new screen terminal and then go jump back in there. But let's look at this real quick. So we know that we're in there, right? Got lsof. We see that our bash process is in there. You could, if you wanted to, do a ps-ef and then grep for that process ID. And then you could see, here's your process ID, and that's your bash shell. And then things that have it as their parent are here. So here's the grep process running and the ps process running underneath my shell. So this is my process ID for bash, and then this is the parent process ID for this command, right? And that command's already gone. Both of these commands are gone as soon as it sees them. They were gone. They're gone forever. But let's try the umount-L, and then let's do a df-h here. And it says, there's a problem. There's no file system process. I say, what error do you see? Can you fix it? What would you do to fix this? And I might say, what if you just cd back to mount and then do your df-h? So now you're in there, but you're no longer mounted, right? Because df-h before was showing node 01 over here. We were mounted off of that other system. So then did the error go away? Is the file system properly unmounted? So what other questions would we want to know here? Yeah. Well, that's probably good for there. So now we can go look real quick for ps-ef and grep for, we'll trick grep a little bit, HD or like that. And we find just the one process of the SSHD daemon running. It's 1574, and then we can go and we can save that. I'm going to save that as a variable that then over here I can look at. So echo $SSHD PID, this doesn't change on the system. 1574 isn't going to change, but we do want to remember it. We've told the system to remember it, but we want to remember it to reference some of these other things here. And the reason I did this was so that the lab could continue on without you having to think about it. But if you are doing this as an administrator, you do have to think about this, right? You do have to think about what's going on in your system. So let's do an lsof-p for that PID. And here is all the files that process of 1574 are holding open. I'm going to make this a little smaller so it's easier to see. But there's a bunch of things that are happening right here. I'm going to make it 1 time smaller. You guys can see it better probably on your own screen. I'm going to make it 1 time smaller. All right, boom. Everything's going to fit. But right here, we're going to have FD, which is file descriptor. And it's either a current working directory, an RTD, a text, a mem, a bunch of mems, or it gives the actual file descriptor down here of 1U, 2U, or 3U, and that's its actual connections that are held open where it's listening on TCP, right? It's a TCP stream connected, and then right here is the TCP for IPv6, so we're not even using IPv6, but that is held open on the system, right? So there is a massive amount of stuff you can start to dig into just right here on what the hell is SSHD doing in my system. And this goes back to something I've told you guys, it's a philosophical point, but it's accurate. If you turn on a server and you turn on SSHD and then you go over to another server and you just connect over to that SSHD, right? So you connect and you start. Do you then, hold on, just think about this for a second. Do you then go, oh shoot, SSHD is running. I better spend 2.5 hours digging into how SSHD is running? No, none of you are doing that. First thing you do is you go, the vehicle started. I'm going to go drive to the store or whatever. Or this thing worked. Why would I start troubleshooting a thing that worked? Does that kind of make sense? Now, I tell you guys all the time, we want to understand the behaviors of our tools because we don't want to be trying to figure out our tools when they're busted. But what I'm going to tell you right now is you're probably not going to go dig in and look at what this libz so 1.3 is doing. I know that's a library, right? It's a x86-64 library. We know that. We know it comes from Linux GNU. So it's one of these. It's not one of these new, like they're redoing those Rust libraries and stuff. So it's not one of those. But also, I'm not seeing an error about this in the logs. So I don't really need to go in and dig in on exactly what that's doing. Does that kind of make sense? However, if there's a log busted or something's telling me it can't find this file, and then I come here and I go look for it and I see, oh yeah, that file's not there, right? And we can grep this and we do all our normal Linuxy things. Then I start digging in on what the hell's happening. But this lsof tool is so powerful for you to know, like, what's being held open by what's being touched by what. If there's a file lock on something, you can see what's holding it open, all these type of things. So I say, what are these FD values that you see, and what are the common types of names that you see? So you've got directories, you've got regular files, you've got just Unix sockets, and then down here, this one I've actually never seen before, IPv6, so I've never paid attention to it before. That one is a different type. I hadn't seen that. And then you can see if it's got a device with it. There's some size values and some node stuff. Probably useful for some debugging type stuff that I don't necessarily even work in. But could you go figure out more about it? Absolutely. Now you know what these things are. Important for us, we see the command, we see the process and the user. We could tell how something was kicked off. So I see that this is started, but could I know how SSHD was started? This is a little outside the lab, but system CTL status SSHD. Right, oops, SSH. Make this a little bigger for you guys. Back to here. And I see his main PID is 1574, so I might go look at that PID again. Did I have one of that? Yeah, we could just look at his PID here. And we see that he's 1574, and then I told you guys that this was his parent, and his parent is 1. Does anybody know what the implication? I know some of you have been around and know this. I'm not, by the way, guys, when I ask you stuff, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm actually trying to do something that I had watched this really cool presentation by one of these MIT professors, and he was talking about how you listen as a professor and how you talk. And I've been a college professor for 16 years, and I know one of the things I do very poorly is ask questions, right? So one of the things I'll ask you here is, I just go normally, right? I just go one speed. But does anybody here know what that implication is of that process ID being 1 in a in a modern Linux system? Some older ones it might not be true, but there's a very important implication of it being 1 right there for SSHD. All right. No, it's not orphaned. It's not orphaned. No, 1 is a real process. 1 is definitely a real process. What the heck's that? System D. There's all these different System D things that are running, but System D is the first process that's running. So when you see a process with a 1 as its parent, it means that System D is what started it. Yep. So if I were looking for, in this case, the SSHD, he's 1. Here's other things that System D has started that are also process ID of 1. Now, if I wanted to prove that, PSEF, we'll just get them all, and we'll go through more. And where's process ID 1? It's sbin init right there. So starting off and kicking off System D right there. So everything else came from this, right? Now, if we killed him, if we killed that process and those still ran, then that would be, yep, there it is, Bogenbits, you're right. Yeah, spawned by System D or init D. And another way to think of that is, could I prove to myself that like a service or I see some weird service running and I want to go dig in more on it, where did it start? That's just another way to go look. Yeah. PS tree is great as well. Yeah. All right, so we do this, and then I say this is important. What is the file that maps all your services in Linux? Right, so we see that we've got this port from earlier. We did this. At the bottom here, we see this SSH. See right here where it mapped to SSH? So where is that mapping for SSH at? Does anybody know? That's what I put over here. What is the file that maps all your services in Linux? You can modify this file, guys. I've done it on stream before. We could modify it. We could make SSH say, I don't know, it could be spider instead of SSH because maybe we wanted to sound cool. But we could grep SSH out of there and see that it's port 22. We'll do it real quick. We'll vi etc services just for fun. We'll go to port 22, which is right here, and we'll just rename this to spider. You know, just to be dumb, right? And then what did I say? Did I not say etc? Oh, okay. Let's look at this real quick again, and then look at the bottom here. Now instead of saying SSH like it did before, now it says spider. Because that's where the mapping happens in real time, is that etc or etc services. So I'm showing you guys, like, this is very important. Also, I shouldn't have changed that. I should have like copied the line, but that's fine. I don't care about the system. It's gonna be dead in 24 minutes anyways. What is the file that maps all your services and links? Yeah, it's etc services. For a fun one that I always ask you guys when we're here, if you're doing it with me, what's the Doom port? Does anybody remember what the Doom port is? I know some of you have heard this a million times from me, but I still think it's still amusing to me. How would we find it? grep-i doom from etc services. Anybody remember? What's the Doom port? Anybody remember the Doom port? I know some of you know it. Who remembers what Doom is? It's a game from the 90s, right? Early 90s. Came after Wolfenstein 3D. Oh, and people are still playing Doom. I mean, there's new versions of Doom out. But does anybody know what the Doom port is? You don't have a Doom port? There's no Doom port on here. Hold on. It's been clobbered by the ages. It's definitely over here on... Doom. There's the Doom port up there on the top right from Doom ID Software. Yeah, Paul, I used to play Doom. Doom was so bothersome for me when I was younger because, like, I'm just a kid playing a game where you shoot them up, and it's super fun, right? Doom was super fun, but the problem was that me and my friends, we would play it and we'd go shoot up monsters and we'd run. Oh, I got a little bug in here. We'd run through the whole levels and have all this fun and stuff, and then you would take like 12 minutes to just kill all the monsters and clear a level, and like par for the level would be like 46 seconds or something, and you'd be like, the hell kind of adults are. But people would go, oh, Bogan, you said it would be 6. Yeah. No, they were on pretty early, so they got that one. But yeah, it's that's an old. I'm sure that's getting phased out over the internet, but that's the original one. But anyways, yeah, the par for the job was always like, I mean, they must assume people just effing ran through that game, and I guess like maybe for some speedrunners that was kind of the way you did it. Now there was also ways that people would cheat. Like there's a lot of old Doom exploits to get up over the walls and like jump through the levels quickly and stuff. So that was kind of a fun thing as well. I didn't really do any of that because we just ran around and killed all the monsters, right? That was fun. And then his face was always like angry. And I think they even, I know Duke Nukem came later, but I think Duke Nukem kind of modeled after that, where like you would see his face get more and more busted up as he was more and more injured. And then if you guys want to see a kind of fun one, we're not talking about Grafana today, but they actually put people port Doom onto all kinds of things, and people actually ported Doom with inputs from your keyboard onto a Grafana browser. So you've got Grafana showing graphs and stuff, and you could have Doom in there, and you could be playing Doom while you were looking at your graphs. And some of the engineers did that for like one of the Grafana cons probably about, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. You can go look that up if you want to go look at that. There's a blog out there on it. All right, anyway, so we go here, and what do? We kept looking at stuff for ports. So you can look at, we were looking at the process earlier. Now we can look directly at the port, which is kind of interesting. What if you just wanted to check for the open or for what is using a port, right? And it's lsof-i and some port, right? And that's super useful. Like sometimes you go to a server and you do an ss-ntulp and you've got all these things and you're like, well, I don't know what any of these are. I don't know what's going on here. Like what's going on? Like why excuse me. Why is this kube proxy open here or whatever? Like what's going on? Now, you also have the, like for the kube proxy right here, you also have the process ID and the file descriptor here as well. So you have that stuff. But let's just say you happen to notice this port was open and you wanted to see what was using it. You would just use that lsof and then that same thing. And then it would show you, what's actually listening to, and then in some cases what's actually established on that port as well. So I have some other device coming in here and connecting, right? And this is probably some external part of their network that then is allowing that connection in or whatever through that whatever that service is doing, right? So we can start getting in there. Have I played PID Doom? I have not. That kind of sounds kind of fun, Hayes. I have not played PID Doom. Excuse me, guys. I'm like, it's like warming up in Phoenix, but then it's getting cold again, and it's like warming up. So like my house, like the AC doesn't know if it should be on. And look, I know, like I was on the NOAA call earlier with guys, and they're like, yeah, it's 36 here with like 60-mile-an-hour winds, and it was like these high sustained winds. Yeah, and then now, like, yeah, Paul, it's up in the 90s on Monday, and it's like, just, this is inappropriate, right? This is almost obscene at this point, right? All right, and then look, we can look up a process by name too. So lsof-c, and we get that same type of thing that we did earlier from the process by name, right? And I say, do you see the same information that you saw earlier? And I'd say, yeah, we saw the same information. We could SSH, so we don't have an SSH session into control plane right now. So we're going to SSH into control plane again. So we're already in control plane, but we're going to SSH into them again and then do a W, and we're going to get his terminal information here. Now, I don't see his TTY right here, which is weird. But we're still going to go look at, hold on. There it is, there it is. I probably should have left that as a who, because we see root is on as PTS2. So now we go and we look at the actual, just the terminal, and we can see what the terminal's doing, right? There's an lsof dev PTS2, and we can see that it's basically this bash. And then if we wanted to go examine what those bashes are doing, we can do that. We can dig in and start to use like strace or ltrace to see what they're doing. Strace tends to follow all of the system calls, and ltrace tends to call all the libraries and look at what the libraries are doing. So you can use those to see what's going on within a process, right? And then execute a sleep command for 10 minutes and then validate that you can see your command, so we can sleep, and then that'll be backgrounded in our system. And then you come over here and you do an lsof against the user root, and then looking for any processes like sleep, and we see that sleep is running. So 51555 51555 is actually, this is the process of sleep and what it's actually holding open. So this should be the same thing right here if I did an lsof-p against 51555, right? Should be similar output there. But we were looking specifically for a command that we knew was going. So over here we might say, oops, can we check? Can we look at what processes a terminal are using? Yeah, oh, we can do that. That was lsof dev pts2, if that's example. And then you could say get the open terminals with w or who, right? And let's go look on older CentOS box, which is my home lab, and I can say w, and then there's all my PTS sessions coming in, or who. See, and that's weird because I swear Ubuntu changed that recently, because I left that as a W right there because I swear this used to show the TTY, but it doesn't show it now. But who is showing it. But I swear it used to be like that. I feel like that got patched out recently or something. I mean, we built this lab a few weeks ago. That's super weird that would be. Oh, and then we can go read the man pages, right? I'm always telling you guys, RTFM, read the field manual. And then I say, what does AC mean? So you might come here and /A, right? Oops. /-A like that. And then I'm just going to hit N. It said it might be used for AND selections, right? Okay. And then I might go to a -C. And then it says it's listing files for processing, executing the command that begins with the characters of C. Multiple commands may be specified. So it basically searches things, and then we could also use regular expressions if we wanted, right? Yeah, people are talking about, I don't know about data sheets. I know there's some way to access them, but I don't ever use data sheets. But there's stuff online. Obviously, you guys can read them online in HTML and whatever kind of, I'm sure there's a million of those out there. I've always just read manuals because for me, guys, like man, lsof, I know it's hard to read on here, but I typically want to see an option. So I do a /- and then the type of option. So in this case, -C. And then I hit enter, and then I can say N. There we go. That's what I wanted. If I were past it, I would do a -C, and this would search up through the file to there, right there. Boom, that's what I wanted. So I search through files with a / is forward search, and question mark, which is just shift and /, is your reverse search up a file. I use that all the time when I'm like reading files and that kind of stuff. I always use man easy. Yeah, I don't 555. All good information, by the way, too. I probably should go look at those. But guys, this is one of these things where it's like you can read stuff. Some people like to read stuff and absorb it. Some people just need to get their hands on it. I think that one of the good things about this lab and why I try to do the labs like I do is you can follow along and just hit the buttons and my labs will finish. But you've touched so many things that you're like, I like that. I like that one thing. I'm going to use that next time on whatever. And this is, guys, this happens in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu too, like because I've been doing that forever. Somebody will learn a move and then they'll never use it. But then one day they'll land it like live in class on somebody and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like cool. But then they'll get like maybe they'll do it 100 times in class, and then they're like, oh, I really get that. And then like they land it live in a tournament or something, and then I tell people that move's going to be, that's your move forever. Like you could do that like defending yourself if you needed to, because you're so good at it that you understand. And that's how I feel like a lot of this stuff. Like you see it, you understand it a little bit, and then you go right. Again, it's transferring it from being, again, lsof is just a command. Well, look at all these different ways you can string the command together to turn into. Like I tell people, this is going to be a bad example. I'm going to get somebody mad at me. But like I tell people like cornbread, right? What's cornbread? It's just this little yellow or orange, whatever color it is. I'm colorblind. I think it's yellowish. But do you want to make that salty? Pour some salt on it. Put some butter on it. Boom, part of a meal. Do you want to put sugar on it and make it like a cake? It's very versatile. It's the same thing as like this lsof command. Like just knowing that it exists is okay. It can do some stuff. But go in there and look at the kind of things that you could figure out about a system, especially around where things are busted. Because lsof, and then I'm actually writing, I got to write another lab for strace and ltrace. The ways that we can look at where, because at the end of the day, guys, like the stuff that we do as systems engineers and keeping systems running and operational, like we bounce back and forth between systems admin and systems engineering work. We're really just looking for where the trail breaks. And then you're like Ash standing there in, what was it, Evil Dead 2, where it was like all ripped up and he couldn't leave. Like the bridge was out. Maybe that was in Evil Dead 1. I don't remember. Or Evil Dead, right? Where like the bridge was out. Well, anyways, where I'm going with that is you can't, really, you just need to find where the break is, and then you can go research what's wrong and if something's missing and get to the thing that gets us to the next break in the road or whatever. So we need to just play with our tools and that kind of stuff. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox about that. What else do we have? Could you, yeah. Can you look for a command that you ran and see that it's still running in the background? This one's kind of a trick because you also have the jobs command. So like that sleep should still be running. So I should be able to say jobs. Oh, maybe it's done. What happened here? Oh, I'm in this terminal. That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. But anyways, let's just bang 6, right? So that sleeps there, and then if I do jobs, I'll see, well, I see both sleeps running. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. What happened? Yeah, so you could do jobs, but then also you could use system lsof-u root for the user and -ac for like sleep. This is assuming that you had backgrounded sleep. This is just backgrounding it, right? The ampersand. And then you could bring it. So I could right now say FG2, and I'll foreground job 2, and now we're just sitting in the sleep. Until the sleep ends, we don't get our terminal back now because I foregrounded the newer sleep, right? But you can background things live. You can look at jobs and then foreground things again if you want to watch them. And a lot of times I integrate that with NoHup in my own environment because I want to NoHup in case I get kicked out of the system, or if I work on a lot of government systems with weird timeouts. So if you don't have any input between like multiple systems you've jumped into, it'll kick you out all the way out. It'll like zipper you out of like 7 systems, and you're like, oh, damn it. I got to go all the way back in there. So NoHup is one of my buddies. And you say, well, why don't you run just something like, they say something like, why don't you run a screen or LS screen or TMUX or something? Well, you almost always are already. Right, but it's government systems. They time you out and then they kick you out, and it kills your process, even though it should have been no-hupping it forever. It's super annoying. John Carr said, "Hey, what time does the Linux admin course start tomorrow?" It's not tomorrow. Today's only Thursday, right? So if you go over here, it is on. If you come to the top left, if you're on a system, it's the top left. If you're on your phone, it's on the top right, and for me, it starts at 3 p.m., but that's Arizona time, so that's GM. That's UTC -7, I believe. Or am I -6 right now? I don't know. We change. We don't change. The world changes around us. And then there's a Linux Systems Engineering course later. So to answer your question, these are on Saturday. The course starts on Saturday. Tonight and tomorrow, I'll probably be finishing up some of the last pieces for the first one. One of them's already set, right? Like we have one of them very done, but then the other one is not. All right, so it says, look at you learning to use the lsof command in Linux. You use the command to troubleshoot a problem and then look at what file systems interactions are happening with processes. So there you go. Okay, so let's go back over here, and I'm gonna pull in all my notes real quick for this. So, like the logging one, I'm gonna drop this in the Discord in a minute here because people wanted this. So logging in events is this lab here, our syslog. So I'm going to. Can I not capture that? Oh, fine, whatever. We'll just kick off another lab. Kick off a lab. Boom. So that's the rsyslog. DNS resources was this one here. Firewall configurations was this one here. And really all we were doing is just saying, can we, we're doing the labs anyways, but then can we do these things? Can I check the state of a firewall? Can I check to see if the firewall's turned on or off? Can I test that the port's there? One of the things we were doing, lsmod grep tables. Can I tell, this is technically, can I check if the underlying system is NF or IP tables? That's really what this is, right? So there's that, and then up here was server startup and process. This was one that we did to see how a system was starting. That is this lab. You might say, Scott, why'd you jump around? Because we were doing this live like a few weeks back, and I did the ones that I thought were interesting as we kind of got to them. This one was software and package managers. This is one of our newer labs. I think it's down here somewhere. Software, where did I put this one? Yeah, this is this one. I'm just going to have all the labs in there so you guys have them if you go and look at it. This one was Slurm, so we were running Slurm. Just happened there. We were doing Slurm as a process. That is, where's Slurm? Yeah, if you guys haven't set up Slurm before, that's a good little tool. We did antivirus. Let's go find antivirus. Clam AV. Never set up antivirus. That's pretty good. Monitoring. This is going to be a mess, but I don't care. There were 3 monitoring labs, but we did the Loki one. So we did Loki, and then boom, and then we did Apache, which is our setup of HTTPD. And that one is down here somewhere. Yeah, Apache Web Server. Which, by the way, we show you how to do it by hand, and then there's a Ansible one that shows you how to build it automated, right? NFS, this was the original one that we did because I think this one's fun. So this was the one we had started on when we originally did it. And then the NFS one was right here, right? Creating and sustaining kind of those individual. Right, get that back to spinning over there. And then NFS, boom. All right. So now what I would do is I would grab all this. I'd go drop it in our Discord. Notes. People tend to like meeting notes here. Right. So there's the notes. You can download them. You can go work through those things yourself. Right. What is that very cool lab? What is it called? That's all a tool called Killer Coda. I'll link the labs to you guys here. Hold on. All the labs are found there, and then I just did the ones that we had just worked through. Yeah, yeah. And then there's the link over on the YouTube side as well for you guys. But yeah, I mean, look, and then you download it and you can run it. It's all just straight stuff. I did this one. We did this on stream the other day, and then I drew up that rsyslog component. So if you were building the logs out, which is actually just one of these ones, but this is what it would look like kind of how you set control plane in node 01 to send and catch logs and stuff. So I did this as kind of just a, you know, this is just another way of looking at. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you really just get in there and start working on it, guys. Right? Get a free tool like this. That killer code is free tool, man. I tell you guys, not to be like, hey, I walked uphill, you know, in the snow or whatever, but I'm gonna tell you, like, when I started doing Linux, they just throw you a CD, and if you couldn't get it installed on there, you couldn't be a Linux guy, right? You had to go be like a networking guy or like a Windows person, and you know, that just wasn't going to be the life for me. So nowadays, though, I think you guys, you have so many other vehicles to make it easier to get into this command line stuff, right? And the first rule I would say of getting into command line is don't be like my dog Ranger. Look at him. Look at that dog. The first rule I would tell you is get in there and do this stuff. Get in there, like the first rule of, how's it going, Robodom? I would say the first rule of seeking wisdom is seek wisdom, right? It's the first rule of getting better at some of this command line stuff is to get better at command line stuff. And then I tell you guys the general thing I always tell you is, if it's not our group, right? If you can't stand to listen to me or the other guys in the group for another second more, that's fine. Find somebody that's further along down the path and just see what they're doing. Like, if there are all kinds of other Discords out there, there are all kinds of other groups out there. Our group wants to get you doing Linux. That's our goal. To that end, there's what the hell's going on here? That's actually really funny. I've changed that the last 3 hours, so I'm seeing relatively high variance and some ping out to, what node is that? Where is that out to? Example.org. That's a way higher ping. Only at certain times, though. That's interesting. That's interesting. We can dig into that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Xargs too. I have some little tricks with Xargs that work pretty well. All right, we can see what's going on with our system. One of the things I'm going to be on. So tomorrow. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's the anniversary. So the wife is off for. She works at a school district, so she's off this week anyways. But tomorrow's her last day off, so her and I are going to be hanging out. I will still do some streaming. I don't know exactly when, but I will definitely be doing like the final cleanup to get this stuff the way we want it, right? The final little cleanup in here to get these like we want. There's something I might do tomorrow, depending on how into it I am. I may flip over this DMZ to a different node. We may put we have to rebuild P01 Jump 01. It's actually right here. Rebuild P01 Jump 01 with Rocky 9.4, and then make it. And basically, what I would do, if you guys are like, well, Scott, what are you gonna do then? It would actually be more like this. P01 Jump 01 will probably be allowed to go die, right? And he would probably move to like 246. And then this would become Bastion. P01 Bastion 01. And he would stay on the same port, so I don't have to change anything else in the system. But that's probably the way I would do it. And then he would give connections. What he currently does is he gives connections over to... Where the hell's the arrows at? Oh, here. He gives connections over to... I'm going to make this bigger. Hold on. Because that's in the way. He gives connections over to these nodes. And then say connection This is the jailed user connection. It's actually technically what it is. And he brings it over here. And then he also brings it up here. It's these boxes, right? So the jailed users are shot into either coming here or here. And this is the MC Hammer user. And this is the streamer. Streamer 1? Yes. Is it streamer 1, Robodom? I think it's streamer 1. Yeah, we'll have a good time. Me and the wife always have a good time. Jailed user connection, yeah. And then those are the users that... Can I change this? Hold on. Let's see. Can I change this to not be an arrow? Oh, we can give him one of these things. Oh. Oh, that's funky. Oh, that's funky too. Oh wow, that's gonna keep like subdividing over and over again. I don't want to keep subdividing it. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Haven't logged in there in a while. Yeah, no, that's fine, Robodom. Oh, I gotta sneeze, guys. Oh, man. That was a bad one. Jailed user. Oh, and since I straightened the arrow, that can straighten back out. There you go. All right, jailed user connection. And for some of you guys, you'll be figuring out how to do that this weekend for the first time, if you're doing any of the courses, right? What else? What else do we got? Yeah. Well, Robodom, the Rocky servers use MC Hammer now, so that was voted on by the guys when we were doing a couple weekends ago. We were hanging out, and the guys wanted to. I gave them what did I give them? I gave them MC Hammer. They asked for. They like picked the things, and then I threw them all up, and then they voted. Yeah, it's if you guys go in like the Linux chat channel, you can go back and you can look at the discussion on that. That was kind of funny. But I'll be resetting the streamer password and the MC Hammer password to the new what'll be the new version of the lab passwords. Those will not stay in the server anywhere. Like I won't leave those in the Discord anywhere. Those will be like in the discussion. We'll do them, and then they'll go away. Right? We'll get them out of there. But how you guys access this will be available to people that want to do the course, right? Anybody else that's just kind of wandering in, they can do other stuff. You know, there's plenty of Linux to do, but we're gonna leave the course. We're gonna leave these servers up for people that want to do it. Also, people changed a bunch of these because these are not correct. These are definitely what? This is a very old version of this. I don't think. I must have saved this as something else. Hold on. I had to have drawn this as something like I had to have put this as something else, because this is a very old, very wrong version of this. Because the hammer blocks go up to 24, so there's 24. We have actually 25. We have a 44 node capacity right now for the labs. So 44 people could be on at a time. Now you might say, well, there's more than that in all the classes. Yeah. But when we do the courses, I'm going to ask people not to be doing, like I'm going to say, hey, when we're here meeting, let's do this. You guys can all break and go work on the stuff as much as you want. But I'm trying to, because then that'll spread people out during the week, right? If that kind of makes sense. We have plenty of capacity for everybody if it's all throughout the week. If we all did it during the class, I wouldn't be able to talk much because people would be poking around in there, and that's fine. But since we only have a limited amount of time to do discussions, I'd rather have you guys up there. YouTube getting aggressive again with ad blockers. I just bypassed them. Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, fun fact: I can't discuss any of those. I don't think on YouTube or Twitch. But I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. For me, I just on the Twitch side of things, I just pay for the. I think it's like $13 a month now, and I never see a single ad. In fact, if I ever see an ad, like if I'm on a server, like on something, watching something live, and they throw ads up, I just leave because I'm like, I'm not. You know, they're running their own ads over the top of Twitch, and then it's like, I'm not gonna watch it. Although I don't watch a whole lot of live stuff that people on Twitch think is interesting, I guess. Although it is funny, I'll post in the Discord later. But I was watching on Hulu earlier. They had all of the college wrestling and the championships for college wrestling. So I was watching like 8 screens at a time of college wrestling, and that was pretty good. So I'm a big fan of wrestling. I've been doing it most of my, well, all of my adult life, anyways, but most of my life. So, all right. What else are we doing then? We've looked at this. We've looked at all of the topics I think that are in here. Let me start this spinning again. Back that out a little bit too. That's kind of what the home lab looks like with the little happy people on top of it from the internet. I need to work on issues. We don't need STIGs right now. I'm gonna be building another lab for OpenSCAP to give you guys some experience with that. And I'm probably not going to be building. It depends how much time the labs are taking me, or the course is taking me. But again, prolog.org, you guys can go in and it tells you how to sign up for the courses. They're going to start in March on the 22nd, so that's like a couple days away, right? That's coming up. So, oh, you won't try to tackle me? Yeah, fair enough. Tackling me is probably possible, especially if I'm not paying attention. However, most people wouldn't want to be on the ground with me. It wouldn't be very fun for them because I have been wrestling for so long. Specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in that case. But yeah, but most of the time I'm like Ranger right there, where I'm just asleep. All right. How are we doing on users? We don't have very many users in the server. You guys will see this number start to shoot up a lot once we get into systems. And also, hold on, I didn't turn this on. Let's go turn this on. Control Z. Let's go turn on root Ansible or user login.ansible. We tested this the other day. Let's test it again real quick, because testing stuff is fun, right? This is how we get better at this. We build our stuff. We make sure it works. Let's go to our sandbox. Time zone's fixed. Yeah, this is all fixed. So let me see cron tab -L. Why is that not running? Probably don't need all that other stuff. Pull that off here. I think that's fine. Oh 0747. All right. We'll do 7. $747.23. Okay. Sleep. Let's do like 120. And then say psef grep-i for Ansible. So what we're going to do here real quick is watch for our system to make sure it's running. I don't know why. 749, yeah, 49, that, everything, boom. It's very possible that I just have an error in that other one, because I was wondering, like, that should be running at midnight every night, and it's not it's not working right now. So we're gonna just watch it run out of here at 49. So it should run at 0749. We should see it run. Also, we'll go look at the cron log if there's something broken in there, right? fact, we could check that real quick. Grep Ansible etc var log. Has been running it every night. Strangely enough, it looks like it's trying to run it twice. That's weird. Huh. Well, in a few seconds, it's going to start. If it's going to start. So we're going to watch it. Yeah, Robe Dom, I haven't decided yet. Probably should decide that soon if we're going to record that. I don't see that running. Hold on. Is cron running? Yeah, cron's running. All right. Am I losing my mind? Minutes, hours. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Are we on? That is not. 07. Okay, but why is it 0750? That should be 20. You guys see how my time is set correct here. That is weird. I don't think I've ever seen that on a server like that. One, this is incorrect. This is correct though. That's showing 7:50 p.m., but that's not how you would show 7:50 p.m. That's the correct. That's weird. I set this all up the other day, and I know it was working, but I don't think it's ever getting to go to 53. 53. We're going to set that to 19. 53. All right, we got 1 minute. Boom. All right, now we wait. Yeah, 07 should be, yeah, but that's still, you're right. That's a weird way to see that. It should not, that shouldn't be showing like that. That shouldn't be showing like 07 p.m. I've never seen that before. That's, yeah, I'm trust me, I'm 100% with you. That's not the way I expect to see this. That's not the way the system's seeing it in the time date CTL and the time that we are offset from UTC. So what I did was I updated this to 19 because that's what it actually is in the system clock. I just need to see it run. Yeah, I 100% don't agree with this. This is not, that's not the way I've ever seen this. Because the system on the underlying time date CTL command sees it correctly. So we're gonna let this run. We're gonna see if Ansible kicks off. If it doesn't kick off, there's got to be something wrong with my command. But I don't need to add the root over here because this is the contact. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, so it is kicking off. And then we're gonna see it drop over here on the left. So I had something broken. So cron tab-L, let's go fix our cron tab. That is running now, so that should be right. I had something broken earlier, probably. Oh, whoops, L. Oh, L. And then pscf grep-i Ansible. We'll see Ansible doing all of its SSHs everywhere, because that's what Ansible does. For fun, oh yeah, there it is. So then now here's its write out of all the user logins to server. Somebody logged into Rocky 3 in the last 24 hours. And these are only logins from the main bastion, so that means somebody used the Rocky node in the last little bit. So that's gonna start kicking off every night. Well, now this should work tonight now, because apparently I had just the single quotes were not correct. I don't know why that didn't work, but anyways, this will start running every night, and we'll be able to see all the user logins, or if any of my systems are down. I also care about that because I want to keep the lab clean for everybody. And then maybe we'll make a check that's like, we'll look for maybe systems that have been up longer than a week, and then we'll kick them over. No, maybe we're gonna figure some stuff out. We got more stuff to do to make the lab work better, but that's a general idea. By the way, if any of you are wondering, we wrote this Ansible code the other day. It's really easy. It's user login, and it looks like this. And let me take a break real quick, and then I'll walk through this. So let me pull up my little hourglass, and I'll say hourglass, quick break, and then we talk about this playbook for users in the lab and Discord, right? Because how do we write out to Discord? How does that work? Like that. All right. So let me go to. Actually, I need to change studio mode. Yeah, I'll just put that up for you guys, right? I can answer that for money. All right, I'll be right back. You guys take a break, walk around, check your phones. I'll be back. Talk more Linux stuff. All right, I'm back, but I'm not sitting down yet. I had to get my passport out, guys. Unrelated to this. Unrelated to this. But I did have to get my passport out. Why, you might ask, for a government thing? I'm not even going anywhere. Oh yeah, Robodom, thanks for the resubscription. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. All right. Yeah, Chris, I can see the Discord being a bit overwhelming if you haven't been in there a long time. Mainly just follow my trail of memes, and you'll find your way. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's a lot of stuff going on there. But there's like, we tried to organize it like tech stuff, general chat, and then, you know, off topic, you could close a lot of that. Like if that's bugging you, because it's just stuff that's not related to tech, you know, you don't want to see Ranger. You don't want to see Phoebe, master of her domain. That's Phoebe. That's sending rounds, dog. You know, you guys don't have to. But my point is, like we'll be talking down some of these channels. You can ignore a lot of it. Resource doesn't change very often. There's QA stuff. People have asked stuff. So, if you guys don't know, if you go for the Linux admin course, we do have that all recorded up on YouTube already. In fact, if you're in here, it's got everything's already linked in all the weeks. Like the week 3 worksheet has the week 3 stuff. Unit 4. They've been working a lot of stuff up there. So, all right. Ranger, doing Ranger stuff. All right. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right, let's turn this thing off. You guys should be able to see me again. I'm sitting over here munching on the wife. The wife got these little, well, whatever they are, they're peanut butter M&Ms. I think there's some holiday Easter thing, but let this spin over here out of the way. Yeah, so if you guys haven't used a lot of Ansible, let's just look at what this thing's doing. So it's a playbook. It starts with the 3 dashes to let us know that it's YAML. You can go steal this top part from just about anywhere, right? My top part is doing some different things. It's got some survey hosts over here that we're using. And survey host is a special variable that I just use that says, you know, what host do you want to run against in the environment? Normally right here for hosts, you would just put an inventory group name or a inventory name of a host group, right? So you would say like all or Rocky servers or Hammerblock servers. And you say, well, Scott, where are all of those for yours? So on my system, if I cat etc Ansible hosts, here's mine. I've got a Rocky, I've got a Hammer, I've got servers, and then you've always got an all, right? There's always the all. But if we go and just look at this, I'm saying go ahead and use all and drop it right there. The reason I use a variable like this is if you don't know how to run my playbooks, you don't get to run my playbooks. And you say, Scott, that sounds terrible. You're a monster. You're just holding everything with an iron fist. No, it's just that I've done this before where, I've set up big playbooks that configure things in systems, and I've done all this stuff. And what'll happen is somebody will come along and be like, oh, that's that playbook that I saw Scott run that one time. But he doesn't know how the old magic works. And if you use like the term all in here, and they happen to point it against the all repository for like the inventory file for all of your servers in the company, they just ran the wrong thing against the whole company and take everything down. Because a lot of this stuff, like if you're baselining servers or something, you can't baseline a running server. Once the server's off and running, you just kind of have to let that thing go until it dies. If you try to like take too much back, you're going to break stuff, and it's a mess. It's a nightmare. It's easier to redeploy things 100% of the time, right? So that's how that works. If I had any special variables, hold on real quick. Get this message. Sorry. Gotta text one of my buddies back. Hold on. Streaming. All right. I don't have any special variables here, but if I did have variables, I could put them here. Alternatively, I can use vars file, which is a place that I want to store variables on my system, and then I store them in a vault. Now, because I'm storing them in a vault, there's two options you have with vault. You can either give the password at the command line, which I'm not going to do here inside of a cron tab. That's insane. Or I can give it through a vault password file, which is root ansible.pass file in my environment. And then that file, if we do an ls-l on root ansible.pass file, it's already a hidden file, but it's also unreadable by anybody other than that's too bright. By my user. Here, let's go to here. That's a little darker. That's not better. We'll get rid of that one for now. And we'll pull that out for now. All right. No more of those bright ones coming up. There we go. All right. It's like flashing me in the face every time I go to do it. But anyway, so I can put the pass file in there, and that'll allow me to access my vault. So that's cool, right? So we can call vault, and then vault has hidden variables. There's two variables that are hidden in there. The one is the Discord webhook URL, and I take it back. That might be the only one. That might be the only one that matters there. Now, between vars and vars files, those are only two types of variables. And then you're seeing me use a third type of variable here where I'm handing in a variable at the command line, which is called extra vars. That accounts for 3 of the 22 ways that you can give variables to Ansible. If you say, how do you go find out all the ways to give variables to Ansible? You go here, and you say Ansible variables. And then here's the variables. And you want to slide down to where it says precedence, because precedence, whenever we talk precedence in a system, we're saying the order things happen. Well, if I'm going to tell you an order, if I tell you, hey, I'm going to give you an ordered list of all the variables, and you go, okay, cool. What does that list have to be to be accurate? Well, it has to be a complete list, right? I mean, you might say that goes without saying, Scott. Well, it doesn't for everybody, right? Because not everybody does engineering all day. But yes, to give full precedence of all the things from first to end, in ordinal, it's 1 to 22 in here. You have to have them all. So here they all are. This is the list, if anybody cares. And this one always wins precedence, and this always loses precedence, right? And by the way, the command line values, again, these are not variables, so I guess it's not really a variable, but it also takes the least precedence of all these other things. If you're defining variables inside of your playbooks or individual tasks, which I highly recommend you do not do, they are going to get overwritten all these different ways. But again, like this is one of those things where if you're running a debug or if you're trying to figure out where things are happening, I might posit you're being too complex. I work with some people who they think that like to run a good playbook, you have to use every single thing. And I'm like, that's not how, like, we don't do that here. I just watched that in, I was watching Infinity War earlier today because I have a Disney Plus that I never use. So I was like, I'll start watching some of this Disney stuff. All right. I don't chew when I present or when I'm on stream, but I'm gonna make an exception for you guys today. So I'm using 3 different types of variables. I say gather facts true because I need to gather facts about the servers, and this is a bit of a sunk cost of time. Now this is going to go against 44 servers. Yeah, 44. It's 25 and 19. And then I get down to my tasks. Each task is named. This is an arbitrary name. It's any name you want. Just like this. I don't even have a name up here, which I sometimes don't. But here's an arbitrary name for the task. Get user logins. I'm using shell. You can also do ansible.builtin.shell nowadays. That's the more modern way of doing things, sure. But what I do is I use a last-s for yesterday. So for the last since yesterday, which starts at 000 of today. That's why this runs at the end of the day, because it gets everything since yesterday. Look for 11.245. That's what's coming in off the Bastion host, right? And then count them up. So we'll know how many users logged in to each server or whatever, right? We won't know anything else about them, but everything else doesn't really matter to us because the way our users log in is through one of those accounts. You get root in the environment. I tell you guys all the time, there's no real reason to do anything like hacky in the environment because you already have root. I mean, what's the point of hacking when you're already the owner of something? Like it doesn't make any sense, right? So that's how that first part works. And then we register a variable. Logins is going to be a variable. It's going to have a whole bunch of stuff. We can debug it here. And if we wanted to, I don't always do this, but under debug right here, debug's the module, right? And that could be ansible.builtin.debug if we wanted to do that. Then there's the var, and I can add a line here called verbosity. It would look like this. It would be verbosity equals 2. And then if I added 2 V's to the command line as I ran it, it would be verbose, and it would show me this debug. As it is, I debug when we run the play just so we can see it, and then I can go look at the variables. And in this case, I just want to look at logins.standardout, which is one component of that variable. And variables are always looked at in a JSON format, right? Like that's how we pass things around inside of here. We can run this. And then actually we can add a component to this right now if we wanted to, where, you know, only if this is defined and some other condition occurs, then we write out to webhook. So we could run it as much as we want without writing it out to the webhook unless we really want to. Well, that's fine. We get down here, we're going to create a Jinja template. And I don't know why I put differences there. It's almost universally because I stole this from myself. Let's go look at our templates though. So in here we got templates. We've got a user report.j2. So it's going to take Ansible as it's executing from top to bottom through this playbook is storing variables in like a little sack that Ansible's carrying around with it. You can think of this any way you want to in your mind. This is the way I think of it. Ansible is gathering information every time we register a login, every time we gather facts. It's putting information in this, if you want to think of it as a table, it's probably a JSON table actually, of all of the variables it knows about all the servers and all these kind of things. And we can unwind any one of those things we want inside of the template. When we print the template out, we can go and look through that. And actually, we're going to look through some ones, so you'll have some interesting ones to look at here. But we're going to look at our source template here, and then it's going to do a destination. It's going to write it to this location on the server. I don't even remember why I did that like that. I really should just put it in reports here. So let's fix this on the fly because this is bugging. This is not the way I normally do this. Let's go up here, make a directory reports, right? And then we'll VI our user login. And right here, we'll go to Ansible reports, and it'll be user report, but we're also going to, we want a date, right? So we're going to use Ansible date time dot, and we're going to use ISO 8601 basic short. Now, also going to go here and change this to this. Let's go look real quick and make sure that I have this name right. Ansible underscore date underscore time ISO 8601 basic short. Maybe I, oh, whoops, hold on. Gotta close out your variable, guys, or it's not gonna work. All right, let's go make sure I'm not crazy. I'm definitely crazy, but am I crazy for the wrong, like a different reason? Let's just do this real quick. We're gonna say Ansible, and let's just say all, and then module shell, setup dash A, and we'll filter for Ansible date time, and then we're gonna say we only want to limit to like Rocky 5. Let's do Rocky 5, right? We're gonna hit one server. We're gonna just find the Ansible date time on the filter. And there's our ISO 8601 basic short. Was that right? Ansible underscore date underscore time dot ISO 8601 basic short dot text. Yep. Then we grab this. Grab it this way, or we can just copy it inside the file. Let's go back in here, and when we cat the file out, we're gonna go, whoops, right there. So now it'll drop that file right there. Yep. And cal the file that it created, and then it'll copy that over there. Okay, good. All right, let's run it real quick while we're talking about it some more. I thought I had it right here. Yes, I will press up 100 times before I'll do anything else. I know I can do Control-Shift-R. Oh, here we go. So, all right, let's watch. Let's watch it inside. I know I can do Control-Shift-R, guys. I just I like to press up. Go back in our sandbox. Testing, ignore. Right. Get all the logins. All that stuff. Oh, the Infinity War was the, we don't do that here. But I don't remember what that was to, Robodo. Like, I know what the reference to Infinity War was. I was watching that today. But I don't know. Hold on. Did we break? Ah. I broke something. Oh, gosh. All right, I quit. Guys. Good fucking God. That's where it ends. The dot text is just added to the end of it. What the hell's wrong with me? You guys got to stop me, man. I'm just, right, because that's where the variable name ends, guys, right there. I did. All right, whatever. Ignore me. I'm just going to sit here and eat my little peanut butter M&Ms. There's all our logins. Nobody's logged in. We're going to see it pop up right here. One Rocky login. Okay. But now, check this out. This will be done here in a second. Should be done now. Yeah, there we go. Now, if you said Scott on any given day, can you tell me what was going on that day? I say, yeah. Logically maybe said, is it worth going for CKAD or just go straight for CK? I did my CKA first, and that took me probably about 3 months to get ready for because I was doing other stuff and I wasn't working directly in that space. And then I passed the CKAD about 3 weeks later. So I wanted the CKA because that was more in line with what I do. But if you tell me, hey, like I'm a developer and I'm doing DevOpsy stuff or SRE stuff, I would probably just do your CKAD. And the overlap, the things that are similar between them is probably like 85%. But the stuff that you need to know on the CKA and do that you don't have to do on the CKAD involve updating, like removing a whole node out, upgrading him, and then moving him back into a cluster, backing up an etcd and bringing forward, like bringing back in an etcd. So there's like things that, honestly, unless you're going to be the guy down in the engine room building the clusters, you probably don't care about. So that's how I would decide for me, is like, if you're a guy like me that's like a Linux engineer who I support stuff, I support that kind of stuff, but from a Linux engineering side of things, CKA made a lot more sense for me to go to first. For you guys that are coming from like a software engineering background or like one of those type of backgrounds, for you guys, I would go 100% the other way, the CKAD first. And then go, do I really want the CKA? Am I really going to be like maintaining these clusters, or is that going to be some other dude's job? And that's how I would balance that if it were me. The CKAD dealt a lot more with like Helm charts and updating. Like, you actually do some deployment stuff in CKA where you have to scale deployments and stuff, but with CKAD, you're doing it around like how you're rolling and how many are staying up, and then, you know, if the service is still available, like those kind of things. So I don't know. There's a lot of overlap between them. I think they're both excellent tests to study for and to take. So, all right, look, that wrote, that worked. Let's go look at how that's writing. We've looked at what it's written out. This is what it's writing out, right here. But let's go look at how I generate that, or how am I stepping through these variables that we were talking about, and then we show them to the screen just to show them. But let's go look at that. So we're up in reports. We're going to go up into templates. So up one, back down into templates in one command. ls more user report. And here's the Jinja template that created this little guy right here. So this little guy was generated from this big old Jinja template. So let's walk through this, because guys, I learned Jinja in the wild. Nobody ever showed it to me. I just kind of like went and grabbed stuff and kind of figured it out. I have a couple of labs on Jinja down in the on Killer Coda that are free. You guys can go mess with it. There's two specifically things that are valuable. This comes from my reporting template, where I want to go touch 1,000 servers and give myself one report. That's what this is. This is one of my favorite things. I tell you guys, this is one of the things that's proven most valuable for me in my career, is the ability to touch a bunch of servers, know which ones were touched and which ones weren't by a little report like this. And you say, doesn't the playbook show you? Well, yeah, but even here, like, I mean, if I showed you guys all this, right, and there were 1,000 servers, you'd be like, that's a fucking terrible way to know that all the servers were good when there's too many. So what I do is I just parse out and just show me, it's like just the facts, just what's going on. So let's look at how this works. This says this is a user check for the last 24 hours. And then we drop an Ansible date_time.time on Ansible date.time.date. So those are our two variables right there. And I don't know why that looks like that. That looks absolutely awful. So let's go look at our user report here. Is that really like that? Jeez, that's terrible. All right. All right, there we go. Better. Then we get into, I'm going to quit that. We get into this loop for unreachable systems. So unreachable systems, this is templating. So one of the things about templating is you've got to kind of make it look nice. And we get into a for loop construct here. In Jinja, you just tell it a for loop by doing curly bracket or curly brace, and then percentage sign, and then you close it. And then if you start a for, you have to end a for. And if you start an if, you have to end an if. Just like that. And what we do here is we loop over a variable that's Ansible always has in its stack. There's a bunch of special variables. They're called special variables. You can look them up as Ansible special variables. It'll be the top thing. And here's a bunch of things that Ansible always knows. It always knows this about itself. And I care about this one right here and this one right here. Ansible playhost, Ansible playhost all. Ansible playhost all are all of the hosts that came in from your inventory that started at the starting line. Right here, these are all the ones that make it to the end of the play. If you fall along the way, you are no longer in Ansible playhosts. You were still at the starting line. We have a record of your server starting, but we don't have a record of you getting to the bottom. I've told you guys before, I use this analogy a lot, like a little Plinko machine. When automation's occurring, I just think like drop all the servers in, let them Plinko through all of the logic that we have for them. But the ones that don't make it to the bottom because they break along the way, I can verify, and all this does is loop over all the hosts. And if you're not still in the race at the end, I drop your name right there. So if any of my nodes are down, I can just drop, it would just, if this didn't reach any of those 44 nodes, it would just drop the name right here. For any reason. It could be any one of those tasks that fail for that node. So this is useful for showing you who you need to go look at. And if you have 1,000 nodes and you can filter down at the end of a report to just 23 busted nodes, that's pretty maintained. 23 busted nodes for me and the 7 like other people on my team that are on late at night for like a Saturday patching or something. 23 busted nodes is going to take us under an hour. We're going to I'm going to divvy those up to people. They're going to respond back to me when they're done. I'm going to rerun my report and see that they're all back up. And we're going to report up to the bridge that we're done with whatever we're doing. We're done with the maintenance window or the whatever. But the point is, you can paint, what I always talk about, like painting with a wide brush, is this idea that I will hit as many things as I can. Oh, so it's like a for loop. This is exactly a for loop. It's for host in all the Ansible play hosts. That's exactly what it is. And then in here, yeah, it's just a simple if statement. Now, by the way, I had this written a different way before, where we could actually make this only 3 lines. This is a Python-esque, so Jinja 2 is Python, right? It's all Python under the hood. There is a way to filter this. Some of you guys, like with set theory, and you people that really like doing that, I know there's a way to do this in only 3 lines. But I just don't remember. And I had it written, and I used to use it, and then I don't know, it got lost the ages, because you guys know I just go steal stuff for myself. I don't remember how to do it. And I know I can go find the filter for it, but I really just want one of you guys to go do it for me. But there's a way to like test the set theory of this just isn't in that, in Python. Like, because I know Python has all these test things, and I know I can do that in like 3 lines, but I'm too lazy to go look it up. So one of you guys do it for me. And then just drop the host if he's not in there, because there's a way to do that and without all this extra. But it's there. It works, so I leave it. But if anybody wants to fix it for me, please feel free. Go drop it in our Ansible code. We have a really good, I think we have a really good Ansible code section, because we got a lot of people that work professionally with Ansible. And there's a lot of stuff that'll pop up in here. There's a lot of stuff over the last 6 years that I think are very, I think there's a lot of good examples in there of Ansible if people need it. All right, anyway, so now let's go look at our user logins to the server. It might not surprise you that I'm not doing anything terribly clever, but I'm going to look for all of the play hosts again, so everybody that started at the starting line, and all the way to here, we're just going to loop over them. Okay, so we're looping through everybody in the playbook, all 44 of them. And we come here, and this check, which ends right here at this outside loop of the end if, right? This is just the end if inside the loop. This check looks to see if host vars host, so for each host as we step through each one, .logins is defined. If you're not, go ahead and leave. Because you probably broke, if this is not defined, you probably broke up here and you're up here. Right? But that's fine. This saves us from ever having a broken loop. You don't want a broken loop in a template. It just won't publish. Then I test right here. This is where we kind of do everything. And then I say if host vars host.logins.std out, so standard out. And then I cast that to an integer because it's a string. It's actually a string as it is. Now, standard out can be a 1 or a 0. Well, standard out should be a 1 or a 0. Actually, I take it back. This logins value could be any number of counted up because it was a word count -l, so it counted it. This is not the other one. The other one we do is RC, which is the return code. And return codes, you tend to want those to be 0 or 1, right? But I pass it to an integer, and I say if it's greater than or equal to 1, then drop the host name of that host right here. And then give me the number of logins here so I can say the number of logins in the last 24 hours. And down here, I don't care that it's a string. I don't have to cast it. It's just a value being dropped at this point. And you might notice this is different than how we call host up here, because up here, I'm just looping over and I'm just saying the name of the host. But down here, I'm saying host vars and giving the host name because this playbook is actually being run from the main control, in this case, the werewolf node. He is the executing node. So he has to have Ansible go and look in his backpack, if you will, for the variable for that individual host. Does that make sense? So that's how we do that. Because you might say, why is this not just hosts like up here? Well, because it's different. Now we're going and we're pulling that host out. We could have used hosts there. We could have used the word host right here. Jeez. But anyways, maybe you have a weird inventory and you use like an IP and you wanted to know the host name. I don't know. But yeah, we could have used the word host here now that I look at that. And we could have used this up here too. But you wouldn't want it. You wouldn't want to use this up here though, because if you couldn't get to it and you couldn't pull its factor, its gather facts true, then this variable wouldn't be there. So this would break up here. So this is correct up here. But technically, we could have just used host right here. But maybe I was trying to be fancy. Maybe I was also trying to show that this is how you would look up the individual logins. And then this is the same thing, number of individual logins, and we cast it to an integer, or that's a filter, not a cast, it's a filter, right? And then greater than or equal to 1. And I claim no great programming experience, right, to know the difference between a cast and a filter, but I just know that filter is how you change it from being a string, which it originally is in Python, over to an integer so we can do integer math on it. You can't compare this if you don't do the int, because you're comparing is a string greater than or equal to 1. That doesn't really work. That's not what it is. Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. That's as much. I mean, it doesn't have to be more complex than that. So the user login does all the other stuff, comes down here, generates that report, and then it just cats it out. Cats it out to nothing. Just cats it out to a terminal that doesn't exist, and it registers it to a variable called Discord. Then we go out here and we paste out the payload, which is, where is that? 24-hour user login, Discord webhook URL. Yeah, here we send out. Hold on, we got to fix this. There's a reason this isn't going to publish anymore. You know what? Hold on. This is funny. We had a false positive here, guys. I thought this worked earlier. It did not. Because look, it's the old one. That's not what we wanted. Let's fix this. So, I'll just make a new one. Make that easier for you guys to read. Let's just, real quick, name. We'll say copy the copy the report to hold on, local version, or to, that's fine. The source will be this. God damn it. It's fine. Hit O. Dest will be, we actually don't need that root. Ansible reports. All right. Let's break a server so that this works, so that we can validate that this works. So reboot. So we're going to reboot Rocky 1. He will not work now when we run this. And then in that, we'll see as this report comes out over here that he's one unreachable system, which will be Rocky 1. All right. Isobu, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Logically, maybe. Hold on. So from a software engineering background, that would make sense to do CKAD. If I want to stay I would think so, logically. Yeah, the stuff that you learn, and sorry for not seeing that earlier, the stuff that you do in a software engineering role much more aligns with the type of microservice stuff that you'll do in CKAD, 100%. I do have some basic labs on that to show you guys how to cut stuff over and change stuff around and stuff. Oh, what was that? That's weird. Oh, that's my bad. That's my bad. All right. Oh man, why was I doing any of this stuff? All right. So Y2Y, and right here hit P. So the connection's local, meaning you only do this on the one box. You don't have to do it on the other one. That was my bad. And then read it back as a variable. All right, that was my fault. And then, yeah, there we go. All right, that was my fault. You're gonna copy stuff from yourself. You need to copy all of it. We knew Rocky 1 wasn't gonna come back. We needed him to fail for him to be unreachable in here. So we'll get a new one of these here in a second, and then we'll verify. Or their one node. All right. So Sean Alvarado said, where should I start if I want to learn Kubernetes? This is where I would start. There's two main things. You need to get into the Kubernetes docs, right? So this would be kind of a two-part thing. You want to get into the documentation, and then you say, hold on, let me allay any fears. The next most important thing, in fact, I might even say this is more important than that. You need to know the documentation front and back because you're allowed to use the documentation in the hands-on test. The next most important thing is this right here. It's Killer Coda. You go to Killer Coda, you go to like CKA right here, and here's like 130 labs that'll get you started in doing that stuff hands-on for free, right? So if you don't have a home lab to build out Kubernetes, and they say, well, I could build like a home lab in Kubernetes up in the cloud, and that would only run me about like $20 a month. And I say, yeah, you could do that, or they already have it all here. And even if you said, okay, I want to get ready for the CKA, I know I just need to immerse myself. I've been studying. I haven't spent any money yet, but should I also do like the CKS stuff? The CKS stuff will get you under the hood too. So like there's a massive amount of just I would even say hundreds and hundreds of hours of stuff to work through here before you even spend any money. Then when you want to spend money, the best guy I think to spend money with is a guy named Mumshad Manabeth, and he runs and this is when you start to spend money if you're going to. He runs Code Cloud, which is it's cloud like this though, I think. Maybe it's Code Cloud like that, yeah. And he runs specials. Sometimes the specials are free. He also used to have something on. I found out this guy from Udemy, but they have accounts, and then you can do a certain amount of stuff for free. But his stuff is very similar to this, where you go in and you do the stuff, and then you answer questions and you look at output. But if I were just going the free route, I would get heavily into that documentation, and I would spend at least a couple, maybe an hour a day here, just CKS, CKAD. One of the things, can I show you guys something else I really like to do? Because when I was getting ready for the certs, this is what I did. I went to the playgrounds, right? And there's just a playground here of Kubernetes 1.32, and you can just jump right into the environment, right? And then you'd be in a 2-node environment. Boom. And then what I did was I just came over here, and this is one of my favorite things to do in general, because if you guys know the origin of the name Het Tanis, it's the saint, right? There's somebody out there that's helping people and doing all this good stuff. So let me show you this. I just go here, and I'm just going to go to somebody's GitHub. And I'm just going to look for somebody's GitHub of like CKAD notes, right? And I don't know who this guy is. Nick Hill, I don't know him. Never met him before in my life. But watch this real quick. He's probably got, here's a bunch of bookmarks. Oh, that's cool. That's stuff for me to go study, right? Here's the section weighing. If I didn't want to go look it up myself, I probably should look it up myself. But here's the concepts. Okay, I got to understand the API primitives. I got to understand this. Okay, he's got all these cool pieces for me. He tells me about the test. I don't know this guy from anybody. All right. I need to know how to generate a YAML. Okay, this is cool. I could just do that command, k create deployment, right? And then in that deployment, that's a dash image equals nginx. That's actually just a, is that dash image? Those are dash, yeah, dash image, dash dry run. It used to be client equals dry run, yes, but apparently they've changed it. And then OYAML, and I can just, whoops, I got to create deployment. Create deployment image. Oh, dash OYAML. That was my bad. We're gonna output to YAML. Oh, got 0. Oh, we got to give it a name. Let's just call it Scott. Right, boom. That's how my deployment would be. The reason this is important, by the way, he says it right here. Don't try to write your own YAMLs on the exam. That's insanity. Take this and then modify it to whatever they ask you over here on the left. Because the exam looks a lot like this. They'll have these questions for you. And you would rather generate a dry run like this and then change the nginx to be some other container and whatever. All right. What is that little thing? All right. Anyways, I can come down here, guys. Man, look at all the articles that are out there. Here's courses. I wouldn't pay Linux Foundation for their course. I think their course is garbage. My other friends that have done it also think it's garbage. But Mumshad's stuff is really good. Also, when you pay for the course, you get 2 free runs through the 48-hour environment for killer.sh, which is basically just a lab like this, but it's much more in depth on like what you're doing, and it gets you ready for exactly what the test environment is. I would do the CKA first because I come from a Linux and I'm more on the platform engineering side. People that are software engineers that do kind of the stuff that goes over the top of mine, I think they should probably focus on CKAD because that's more of their bread and butter, especially if you want to be a software engineer doing it. CKA is for people that want to maintain the Kubernetes clusters, which also is something that I could do. But anyways, I've never been on this guy's Discord. I've never been on this guy's GitHub before. I don't know him, but I'm just showing you guys this way to get like I could spend here if I didn't know anything else. I could spend a long time here trying to figure this stuff out with hands-on, because a lot of us learn really good by putting our hands on something, and I could go in and find this stuff. And maybe his notes aren't as hands-on. Somebody else has. This is a list of things that he used to prepare. CKD exercises to complete the guide. Core concepts. Can I create a namespace called... this guy, I've actually seen his stuff before. This is really good. Can I create a namespace called my namespace with a pod with an image? When I first do it, I might not do it as a test for myself. I might just go look and go, oh yeah, oh that's it. Okay, boom. And then I go drop those in, and then I do my kubectl get pods, kubectl get nodes, and I start to look at these things and understand what's going on. You have a server with 64 gigs of RAM. Would you spin up a K8's cluster there, or would you go with K3? Depends what you're using it for. If you're using something that's going to go live eventually, you want a full Kubernetes. If you're just playing with it, I'd definitely use K3s for it. The minimum for K8s on a box used to be at least 2 cores and at least 4 gigs of RAM if you were going to run K8s. If you've got 64 gigs of RAM, and I imagine at least like probably 16 cores in that thing, you're probably going to be fine for either of those. But I would use K3s if like I wipe that often. But if I was going to use it and eventually stand it up for real stuff, like we have real K8s in the home lab here that we're really using for like the website. Like our website is actually pushed up through K8s. We run Kubernetes on the background in the lab here, and then we push it up and then present it through CloudFront. CloudFront. Which is an AWS service, right? But man, there's so many things here for you to go spend. And then you go, okay, create a pod that was just described using YAML. Boom. Can you generate the YAML? Boom. There's the dry run. See, this is the old way of doing it, apparently. But that's the way that I learned how to do it. Now, apparently, from that other guy, you can just use dry run. And for the namespace, if you're going to put in a different namespace, knowing where you put things, very big. And then, but again, it's almost one of these things like, don't go into this test, don't go in any of those tests and not have generated a few hundred of each of these types of pods and containers and that stuff and really understand this. But again, there's free resources. You don't have to build your own stuff out if you guys don't want. I think K3s is what I make the guys do in the Linux systems admin course. Yeah, K3s is great. Get YAMLs for a new namespace called myns without creating it. Boom. I can just grab this. I can say, how would I generate this? There we go. This would generate a new namespace in this cluster called my namespace. But I didn't run it yet. So then I could throw it out to a file. Right? And then maybe I need to change this, for the course, but I would just build the dry run the correct way. Oh, hold on, I put that back on. You guys got to stop me. I didn't mean to put that up. All right. Anyways, I don't mind putting it up. I just didn't mean to put it up. I got a little button on my right hand that I can do. This is good. Well, this stuff. Just command after command. To just... Again, it's not memorizing commands. It's like holding it in your hand. It's like the Predator when he's looking at one of his skulls after he just killed somebody and took their spine out, right? And he's like looking at how perfect their skull is. It's the same kind of thing. You need to understand how to do this because you're going to be in a 2.5 hour test or 2 hour test where you got like 16 to 17 tasks that you have to do. And if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you're just going to be like, and then you're going to, freeze up and not get it to work or whatever. So, that's my thoughts on it. All right. Excuse me. All right. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's not amused. Look at him down there. How's our lab doing? Hub's fine. Hold on a minute. This is still the wrong. This should be the last 90 days. That's fine. I need to just refresh this page. Hold on. Just reload the damn thing. Let me fix this. All right. We need to save this. Oh, right here. Save. It's fine. All right. Got that all saved. All right, and then you guys are seeing there's a lot of stuff coming up. We've got the course. We've got Linux sysadmin course coming up. This is probably my last thing before I go hop off here. But Linux sysadmin course is free. The security course is free. You just got to spend your time and energy. I do not. This one. Some of you guys have come for this. This one's not easy. I don't intend it to be easy. Plenty of people out there that'll coddle you and make you think, oh, like this stuff's all easy. I mean, I think you can do it. It's just going to take some effort, right? And then the security engineering course, I also don't plan on making easy. But I also want to point out this is not a beginner course. We will not be going over like if you have a hard time CDing and PWDing around inside of Linux, that's going to be something you have to kind of figure out on your own, right? Because we're going to be focused on the security stuff. So, again, that's not to be mean to anybody. It's just you gotta be crawling before we can get into walking and running, right? We have to do the basic stuff first. So, all right, let's go find somebody to raid. I don't know if there's anybody on right now that wants me to raid them. But let's go see who I'm following that's doing something right now. We have, oh, Sid's on. We'll go raid Sid. All right, I appreciate you guys coming. Let me go to my little end of stream thing here. You guys are welcome to hang out down the Discord as much as you want and get ready to do some Linux with us and stuff. So, yeah, I think getting ready by practicing in killer code is super smart. So, all right, I will talk to some of you guys tomorrow and in the weekend. Take care.